Van Buren is suing her ex-husband, Chris Ackerman, for reimbursement of money garnished by the IRS and for his share of their son's medical bills.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, it's case number 515 on the calendar, the matter of Van Buren versus Ackerman.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Van Buren, when were you and Mr. Ackerman married?
1994 to 2007.
And you have one child?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you and Mr. Ackerman live together?
We lived together probably from 1992 to 2006.
So far, is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Your one child is 15, and I believe from my reading of the paper that Mr. Ackerman has custody of that child. Is that
That's
correct? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are under a child support order for that child?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Is it correct that you are currently in arrears on your child support and your driver's license was suspended because of that?
Yes, ma'am.
You are $15,000 in arrears?
That is not accurate.
How much in arrears are you?
Closer to 16, Your Honor.
I didn't actually come to court to prepared to prove what I've paid on child support.
That's not my question.
On file it says $15,000, but I can prove that I don't owe that much. There was a period of time...
Just a second. And your license was suspended in January of this year, 2011, for
yes, because of a payroll mistake at my job.
For non-payment of child support. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Was your driver's license suspended in January?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it suspended for?
For non-payment of child support.
That's what I said.
There was a clerical error that my payroll department made.
Maybe yes, maybe no. This is what your lawsuit is about. First, you claim that your wages might be garnished and you have to pay an IRS debt that was accrued during the time that you and Mr. Ackerman lived together. So you want him to be responsible for half of that IRS debt.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you notified of that IRS debt?
I had made attempts in 2008 to make this right with the IRS. I didn't get far enough in the process before they levied my account in 2009.
Ms. Van Buren, when did this IRS debt accrue? From what year to what year?
I'm sorry, the years of 2000 through 2006.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
What years?
2003 to 2006.
And you were still married then, is that right, Mr. Ackerman?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were divorced in 2007?
Correct.
When, if ever, were you notified of this deficiency?
After her license was suspended, she filed the lawsuit a week later for the back taxes. That's the first I found out about it.
Ms. Van Buren, when for the first time did you have communication, either by email or letter, with Mr. Ackerman that you had received a notice of deficiency from the IRS?
We both knew in that marriage.
Don't tell me what we knew.
I notified him of the levy of my account either the day of or the day after.
The day of or the day after what?
When they levied my account.
Show me your initial notice from the Internal Revenue Service.
What I have is a bank statement.
That's no good. I want to see the statement from the IRS indicating...
I have documentation with me from the IRS, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it. Do you have any documentation with you from the IRS?
I have tax returns.
That's not what I want.
May I request some assistance from my witness, please?
Who is your witness?
Jason Schwiller.
Who is it?
My boyfriend.
No. 2004, you were still living together. 2005, you were still living together. 2009, you were divorced.
Right.
Correct.
2003, I'm not interested in. Well, this is to you, Ms. Ackerman, indicating that you worked out a tax repayment plan with the IRS. There's a letter here, December 31st, 2009, indicating that there was an overpayment on his tax return of $304, but that's after the divorce.
Right, that was supposed to be a refund, and they added it to the back taxes.
What do you mean they added it? You mean they paid down the back taxes?
Correct.
And how many times did they do that?
I think that was the only time.
Okay, and how much have you paid them back?
I paid them with my refunds that I have filed in 2007, 8, and 9. All that was taken from me.
Not 7. How much was taken in 2008 and how much was taken in 2009?
All of them, and I don't have the amounts with me.
Well, then I can't help you. How am I supposed to help you? he had his refund taken and applied to back taxes as well. How do you expect me to make it as equal as I can if you don't know how much they took of your refund? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What are you doing here? What do you want here? Why did you file this claim?
Your Honor, may I speak?
No.
And later today,
There has to be some basis for a lawsuit. Otherwise, what you do is you clog up the courts.
I agree with that.
nonsense.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Van Buren says ex-husband Chris Ackerman owes for money garnished from her account by the IRS and for half of their son's unreimbursed medical bills.
Ms. Van Buren, you want to tell me what you believe that Mr. Ackerman owes you with regard to unpaid medical expenses for your child?
February 7th of 2010, our son was involved in a serious accident. He was taken to emergency room and then transported by ambulance to another hospital to receive emergency surgery.
Okay.
I've gotten all the bills paid except for just under $5,000 of that. I have my divorce decree stating that he was responsible for half.
Does your divorce decree say who's supposed to have insurance for him?
She
Yes,
is
ma'am.
supposed to have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
You're shouting out.
And I am, and I've always insured my child.
But your insurance lapsed.
Yes, it did. I have always had my son covered. The insurance company that I have through my job has a verifications benefits company. I have a document stating that they had him covered in 2010. They had dropped the wrong dependent. It was a big mess. I said, look, you need to switch this. You need to take my ex-husband off that had been my ex-husband for 3 years. I said, you need to take him off of there and put my child back on. When I went to re-enroll him for coverage they should have never denied him to begin with, they said that I failed to provide proper documents for the insurability of him. In other words, I needed to prove insurability. After 3 trips to the courthouse, birth certificate, Social Security card, they were not happy with the 2 pages that I provided of my divorce decree.
Ms. Van Buren, your judgment of divorce provides that you are to maintain insurance for the child. The insurance lapsed through no fault of his, whether it was your fault or a combination your fault and the insurance company's fault. What you're asking me to do is to say because you were under court order to provide insurance.
Which I did provide insurance, ma'am.
No. If you did, then we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
I had him covered.
Then you would have had no medical bills.
Well, I can't get all the medical bills, or some of the medical bills are not going to pay.
Miss Van Buren, he did not have any insurance. I mean, you can't have it both ways. At the time of his accident, was he insured or not insured?
He was not insured,
Sure.
but I got the bills paid. I got him covered, and then after that, I got him continuous coverage to the state of Georgia.
Miss Van Buren, you're not following my question. 2 answers. Either he was covered when he was in his accident, or he was not covered. Was he covered or not covered?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, he was covered.
If he was covered, then why did you have thousands of dollars in medical bills? Show me where they applied your insurance to his bills, and if your divorce decree provides that his father should pay for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical bills, I'll be more than happy to award you half of that. But I want to see where you had bills that were covered by insurance and there was a deductible or something else. Do you have any of those?
No, I only have the...
Of course not.
I only have the bills that they didn't pay.
No, because he was not insured at the time of his accident, correct? Is that correct?
I had him covered for the month of the accident.
He wasn't insured at the time of the accident.
Not under the insurance company that is provided by my employer, no.
Well, just a second.
The bills that were incurred by this accident was probably $250,000. He went under 2 major surgeries, okay? And after I thank God that he was alive, my sole purpose was to get this child covered. Because as far as I was concerned, it's not my fault that they dropped my child. I have always had my child insured.
Miss Van Buren, it may not be your fault, but it's not his.
Exactly.
I don't know whether it's your fault or not, but I know it's not his fault. Because your divorce decree, I mean, I've read your papers very carefully, provided that you were to make child support payments and you were to keep them covered by your insurance. And your former husband was to pay for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical bills. That's standard language. Is that what it says in your divorce decree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so All you have to do is show me the bills that were paid by insurance, what your deductible or unreimbursed medical bills were, and I will entertain them. And if you don't have those, I can't help you.
I don't have those documents, ma'am.
Well, then I can't help you, Ms. Van Buren. I don't know where you thought you were coming today. You know, you came here for 2 different reasons, and you don't have paperwork with regard to either one.
I think right off the bat you were misinformed by some arrears that I owe. I was not prepared to come here and prove that I have been providing for my child. So I think right from the get-go, you don't like me because I haven't been paying my child support, which is not the truth.
Miss Van Buren,
I have been providing for my child.
You can get exercised, but what I'm telling you is, based upon your papers that I read, you were aware of this tax debt for a long time. You told me that you were aware of this tax debt for the last 3 years.
So was he. He was aware of it. I was too.
Listen to me.
Aware of it.
Hey, listen to me carefully. You can get as exercised as you like. You didn't sue him until after your driver's license was suspended last month. That's when you got angry. And don't get angry with him. Don't get angry with me.
My license. I'm not on trial here for child support.
I didn't say you were, madam. What I'm saying to you, madam, is you had 2 issues. You brought proof of neither.
I only want it fair. We were married for 12 years. For 6 years, we did not file taxes, and he knew that. Why should I be responsible to pay all of this? And it's paid in full, and that's what I'm happy about.
Miss Van Buren, all I asked you was to show me what your tax refund was.
And I'm not able to provide that for you, but you know what? It's paid, and really that's what I care about.
So then what are you doing here? What do you want here? If it's paid and then you're happy with that, then what are you doing here? Why did you file this claim? And if you file the claim, it's your responsibility to bring the paperwork. Sit. No. Because if you knew anything, you would have to have the paperwork here.
We have paperwork.
Well, she doesn't have it here.
She has bank statements showing payment paid to the IRS.
No, not bank statements. IRS statements that show we have taken the following: $304 on your past due IRS debt. That's what the letter shows from the IRS. That's what she will have someplace, not a bank statement. That's all. Thank you. That's all.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He knows he owes me half his tax debt.
I had no clue. She lied then, and now she's lying about the insurance on the child.
I hope that, we can communicate, but I don't think it's going to get any better from here.
I would like to be able to communicate with her, but she's very unreasonable, and I don't see that happening.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wiseman versus Carmen, step forward.
Diane Wiseman is suing former business associate Molly Carmen for expenses she incurred while studying to become a private detective.
Miss Wiseman, let me see if I can put in a very Reader's Digest way what this case is about, so perhaps I can simplify it for both myself and for the 2 of you. You wanted to go into the private investigation business. Could you stop, Miss Carmen? Papers down.
I'm sorry.
It's not so...
I'm sorry.
Not so difficult. Miss Wiseman, you wanted to go into the private investigation business. According to your complaint, you contacted the defendant, who had been a private investigator for quite some time.
Yes, ma'am.
You made some sort of an arrangement with her where she would come and instruct you so that you could get your license. In what jurisdiction?
Washington State.
Miss Carmen traveled to Washington State from
Boise, Idaho.
At her own expense to come and work with you in setting up your business and doing some training.
Yes, ma'am.
You had no written agreement with her whatsoever, and no oral agreement with regard to a partnership, an arrangement to sharing of income. I don't know why she did it. I don't care. But there was no contract between the 2 of you. So far, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Miss Carmen, according to your complaint, did not follow through with what she had to do to take a test in Washington State in order to train you. And therefore, you had to hire someone else and do some other paperwork in order to get your license.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want her to pay for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Carmen wants to be compensated for her travel to the state of Washington, even though there was no agreement to compensate her for travel. So far, correct?
Correct.
So, what you need, Miss Wiseman, is a cause of action. And you don't have a cause of action. You don't have a cause of action for breach of contract. Contract requires an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. Those are the basic parts of any contract, whether it be written contract or an oral contract. What was Ms. Carmen supposed to get out of this arrangement?
She was supposed to get part of the ability to be able to work with us.
I don't know what that means.
She was going to work with us. And if she came to Washington State, she came to Washington State because her son and grandbabies live there. So.
I assumed that she didn't come just for you.
Right.
I assumed that you were an afterthought in her visiting somebody else there. I assumed she didn't come for you. In any event, you don't have a contract. That's a nebulous sort of thing. She was supposed to get something to work maybe with us and maybe... That's not a contract. Bird has this. I need this. He knows how much I need this. This is a calculator. So I say, Bird, would you sell this to me? And he says, I'll sell it to you for $5. I give him $5. Offer, acceptance, the $5 is consideration. Now I have this, whether it's oral or in writing. That's a contract. But you have no contract. You asked her for help. She came. It didn't work out. So you had to do what you had to do in order to get licensed. She's not responsible for that. You understand? I thought I might tell you that. Now, under what theory do you think you're entitled to be compensated for your travel to the state of Washington?
Well, Your Honor, she was in a hurry. I wouldn't have traveled on those dates, but she was on medical leave from her job.
I don't care about that. Did she tell you she would reimburse you for your travel?
No, she did not, but I was doing it out of the kindness of my heart.
Good, then what are you bothering the courts for?
No good deed goes unpunished, I guess.
But I don't understand why you're bothering the courts with your lawsuits.
I don't think I'm bothering you, hopefully.
Actually, it is. There has to be some basis for a lawsuit. Otherwise, what you do is you clog up the courts.
I agree with
nonsense. Put your hand down. There has to be some basis for a lawsuit, either in negligence,
right,
contract, breach of warranty.
I do believe there was
something.
negligence, ma'am.
There wasn't negligence, madam. She has to owe you a duty. She doesn't owe you a duty to take a test so that she could train you.
But she agreed to. Your Honor, may I say something?
Ms. Wiseman, you didn't put your ears on. There has to be offer, acceptance, and consideration. You do not have a contract with her. Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Bird wants his room cleaned. He's very messy. I say I have nothing to do on Saturday. I'll come over and clean your room. On Saturday, I said, what am I, crazy? I'm not going to go over and clean Bird's room. Or I go over there on Saturday, I look at it and I say, you know, this is a real pig pen. I'm not cleaning this room. And Bird said, you said you would come over and clean my room. And now I'm going to go and hire somebody and pay him $200 to clean my room and charge you for it.
Exactly.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing, Ms. Wiseman.
Right.
Now, did I make that clear to you now?
I'm clear.
Good. Case is dismissed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. When I was studying for the test to become a certified trainer, I realized that they would do better with someone who actually had been practicing in Washington State. She could have helped a lot. I think we could have worked together. I said, I will still do it, but I suggest you do this. When she decided not to follow through with the process, we ended up having to find another trainer.
There was fraudulence.
That's ridiculous, because I gave them the suggestion and they took it. We decided to move forward with investigations and we're going to continue on. I really like Diane a lot as a person. I'm sorry that it came to this.
On Ayala versus Howard. Step forward, please.
20-year-old sports car owner Carlos Ayala says when model Monique Howard posed for a photo on his car, she dented his hood.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Ma'am. Judge, this is number 339 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Your complaint alleges, sir, that the defendant dented your car when she sat on it.
Yes, that's true.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Okay, it all took place at the Velocity Car Show, which is held, I believe, in the area of Redondo Beach. The defendant had asked me earlier that day that she wanted to do a couple photo shots on my car.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Volkswagen GTI.
Volkswagen. Is that a special kind of car?
Well, in that car in particular there's only 500 in the United States that were brought over from Germany.
So you were showing the car at this automobile show?
Right. I invested at least $5,000 prior to that date into that car.
What do you mean you invested?
As far as money for rims and exhaust systems to modify the car.
So you have this very special car. You're showing it at an auto show. And what were you doing there?
I was asked to go there and do some modeling.
Who asked you?
The president from the actual car club called Borsic.
And how did you two get together?
Well, I had a friendly relationship with her prior to this. And the day of the show, she approached me when she arrived and asking me if she could use my car to pose for a photographer that was coming for her own personal use. And I asked her, what kind of posing are you going to do? And she said, well, I have this pose that I sit on top of the hood, and I
That's not true.
Shh, just a second, I'm going to get to you. You have this, she said to you.
There's a pose where she gets on top of the hood, and she takes a picture, and it's a real nice shot. And I said, well, have you ever done this before? And she said, yes, I did. I've done it before, nothing happened. It's a great shot. So she reassured me by doing that, and I was easily convinced to letting her do that.
Okay. According to you, you agreed to let her sit on the hood of your car. And you sat there.
Well, depending on what the photographer asked us to do. But yeah, I did.
Sit on the hood of the car and took a picture.
Right, but the photographer asked him repeatedly, about 3 or 4 times, if it was okay. And he agreed to everything, as far as if we were going to actually sit on the car or model around it or whatever we were going to do.
How did you sit on the hood of the car?
They asked us to actually just sit sideways, kind of facing each other with our feet dangling down on the side of the car. And he took a few
But you were
shots
the
of
only
that.
one who sat on
No, there was another model.
That sat on his car? Was there another model that sat on your car?
Yes, there was. Her name is Kalan. She sat the opposite side of the car, at the same position, same area, just on the opposite side of the hood.
Okay. So what happened after the pictures were taken?
I didn't notice the dent until I got home when I was just waxing down the car. And as I was waxing the hood, I noticed that there was a dent in the hood. Well, I felt that it wasn't my responsibility to take care of that, so I called her the very next day, letting her know.
3 days later, not the next day.
Listen.
Sorry.
I hate this thing. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry.
I mean, I could be mistaken, but it was the week after the show. And what happened, I let her know that the fact that she sat on the car, the dent was put into the car. And I just let her know that I didn't feel fair that I had to pay for those damages since it was for her cause and she was the one that actually implied the dent into my hood. She was very humble and actually very generous, saying that she would pay for all damages and you know, embarrassed a bit. But I mean, it was basically a verbal agreement where we both agreed on a date.
Do you have some pictures of this car, sir? That's why I understand that this monitor is in here. You have some pictures that you want to show me?
Oh, yes, I do have some pictures that I need to show you.
That's the car. Where's the damage?
There's a damage. If you see where the light hits, it actually dims down. If I can approach it, I'll show you.
I see it now. Is that the side you were sitting on?
Yeah, it was.
Huh? Okay. All right. And you didn't notice that until a day or so later, is that right?
Yes, you're right.
How come you have such an expensive car and you didn't notice this terrible dent in the car until a day or so later, sir?
Well, actually, I noticed it the same day, but I called her a day or so later.
First of all, how much do you say it's going to cost you to fix it, sir?
Well, I have an estimate here from the dealer service area that I deal with. They appraised the damage. That's the amount that I'm suing for.
$561?
Yes.
All right. And what's your position?
Well, first of all, when we were taking the shots, he stood there and watched the whole shoot and said nothing. He was even suggesting different poses. Basically, to make a long story short, afterwards, I saw him polishing off the car. He did not approach me with any concern about damages. I actually went over there and looked at the car. There wasn't any damages. And it wasn't until actually 3 days later that he called me and told me that there were damages on there. If they had asked him if it was okay, and all of a sudden he's coming back to me 3 days later saying that I made these damages, it would be his responsibility only because the photographer had asked him over and over it was okay if we were to get on the car.
Oh, you asked him. You asked him. That was enough.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right.
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
And later today,
it's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars too.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carlos Ayala says when car model Monique Howard sat on the hood of his sports car to pose for a photo, she left a dent. Monique says she's not responsible because she had Carlos's permission to sit on the car.
Mr. Ayala.
Yes.
You think that she should be responsible for all these damages
Do
to
I
your
feel
car?
that I should be responsible?
That she should be.
Yes, I do.
Well, you're wrong. You want to know why, sir?
Yes, I do.
If she had sat on your car without your permission, she would be totally responsible for the damage to your car.
Right.
You are supposed to be an intelligent man. If somebody asked me if they could sit on the hood of my car, and if I said sure, and if they damaged the hood of my car, whose fault would that be?
Well, considering if I make a statement,
Yeah.
There's two models that sat on the car. First of all, the other model did not dent the car, which was
maybe she was thinner.
Which was what she asked me for.
Just a second. Maybe she was thinner.
Yeah, actually, she was very much thinner.
Well, then, sir.
Right, but
look,
I'm not.
You use your eyes.
Right.
You look at one model who's thinner. If my 2-month-old grandchild was on the hood of my car, and if my 9-year-old grandson, Casey, sat on the hood of my car and I said it was okay, and if Casey damages the hood of my car, that's my fault because he's 9 years old and weighs more than a 2-month-old baby. So if you look at these two women and she's a little heftier, and you tell her it's okay to sit on the hood of your car because you wanted your car in some sort of a magazine, why should she pay for it?
That's an incorrect statement there. I didn't ask her to take the shot for my purpose.
Doesn't make any difference.
Second.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right. Well,
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
Well, considering that I'm not a weight trainer and I'm not an expert in that field, I wouldn't be able to make a professional...
I want to tell you something. I'm not a weight trainer, and I'm not an expert in that field,
then
and I wouldn't let anybody sit on my car. You think that if this guy said to me, Judge, I want to take a picture on the hood of your car.
Right.
Could I take a picture on the hood of your car? And he sat on the hood of my car, and the hood went to the pavement. that I would say, it's his fault? No, sir. It's my fault, because I was the idiot. Okay. You understand what I'm saying to you? This lady, looking exactly like she did, said, I want to sit on the hood of your brand new, expensive, rimmed car from Germany.
From Germany. American.
And you said, sure. And then she sat on your car, and according to you, she dented it, and you think that that's her fault.
Not entirely.
Dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Jackson versus Mitchell. Step forward.
31-year-old student Adam Jackson is suing his former roommate Lorraine Mitchell because she refuses to return his 1985 El Camino.
All right, I don't think this is very complicated. Mr. Jackson, you and Miss Mitchell were friends, and for a while you lived in her house.
Yes.
You lived in her house along with other properties, an old car.
Correct.
And then you moved out of her house.
Yes.
And you left your...
vehicle on her property.
What kind of car was it?
It's an 85 Chevy El Camino.
And where on the property did you leave the car?
In her backyard.
Were there any other cars in the backyard?
No.
Just yours?
Just mine.
And how long did you leave it there?
I would say from April '97 through November, and it's still there, November this year.
And you want your car back?
Yes.
And you say?
And I say, Mr. Jackson, you're more than welcome to have your car back, but I want to be paid $18.50 for storage per day.
Why?
I checked with several storage companies because if he had had his automobile parked in a garage towing service, he would have paid $18.50. And on top
Why
of that...
did you let him leave the car there to begin with?
Why did I let him leave the car?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any other place to take it. Judge, I called Mr. Jackson on several occasions, over and over and over, repeatedly over, asking him, please come and pick up your car. I asked him over 5 or 6 times. I have the dates written down, and he will testify to that, I'm sure.
But, Miss Mitchell, you had no agreement with him that he was going to pay you to store the car. He didn't do the right thing and get the car out of there fast enough. Why?
Well, at the time I was going to school, and because I was busy with my schoolwork, and I tried. I tried when I told her I was going to come by to pick up the car. So when I finally sold my car, I had the guy who I sold the car to go by her house to pick it up, and that's when I found out that I was going to have a hard time picking up the car.
Yeah, and when was that? When did you sell your car?
November 7th.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden somebody showed up at your property to look at the car? Is that what happened?
Well, first of all, a young lady called me over the phone, and she says, "Hello, I'm Stella. I'm going to be coming over to look at Adam's car." I'm like, huh? Okay. And then the next thing I know, at 8:30 at night, there's a gentleman knocking at my door. I mean, and it's pitch black dark where I live at. And I'm saying, who is this at my door? I'm recovering from a nervous breakdown. He knows I'm ill. Judge Judy, he hasn't even called me to give me the decency to say, Lorraine, someone is going to come over and be looking at the car.
Miss Mitchell, how old is he?
He's a child. I have no idea.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it. He's an irresponsible child.
That's right.
No question about that.
And this is what this is all about, to teach a irresponsible child about your responsibilities. You cannot go off and leave your merchandise on somebody's property for 6 months and come back and all of a sudden it's yours. You have interrupted my business, Adam. You know I have my pallet business back there. I haven't.
Don't talk to him, talk to me.
Judge, I have a pallet business there in the back where I store expensive pallets are back there. We can't put the fence back in place because once I put the fence in, he has to tear the fence down to get his car out. How many times do I have to call him? Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car.
Okay,
I don't feel I have to call him that many times.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young floozies, and you don't have time enough to come over and take care of your business. That's the bottom line, am I right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Adam Jackson says his former roommate, Lorraine Mitchell, refuses to return his 1985 El Camino. Lorraine says Adam abandoned the car and she wants him to pay a storage fee.
Now, Mr. Jackson, there is a certain equity in what she says, sir. You know, while she does not have a contract with you, a storage contract, and you cannot create a contract after the fact.
Yes,
Ms.
I'm
Mitchell.
not
Do you Yes, that's what you're trying to do.
Okay,
You cannot create that after the fact.
All right.
Because there were certain things that you could have done, like just towing his car out of there and just leaving it someplace.
That's right.
You could have done that. You didn't do that. Now, Mr. Jackson, did you sell this car?
Yes, I sold it, and then I had to give the guy his money back because Lorraine wouldn't let me come on her property to get the car.
Well, so that wasn't so long ago, sir. Is that right? Do you still have a buyer for this car?
No.
No. So what do you intend to do with the car?
Sell it once I get possession of it.
And what do you think you're going to sell it for, sir?
About $1,000.
And how much of that do you morally think you owe Miss Mitchell for having had to look at your car well beyond a reasonable period of time?
Morally, I don't think I owe her anything.
Well, let's think about why not?
Well, she didn't tell me to come by to pick up the car.
She called you 4 or 5 times, Mr. Jackson. She called you 4 or 5 times, not to say, how are you? Not to say how you're doing. She called and said nicely, when are you coming to pick up your car? And you made appointments and you never showed up, right?
Correct.
Well, so that makes you immature and irresponsible. And I'm asking you, you are now going to sell a car that's been an eyesore on her property for 6 months. What do you think you owe her for the inconvenience? You tell me.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, I don't think I owe her anything. Because at the time that I stayed in her house, I helped out with her children. I helped them with their schoolwork because she was in the bed all the time.
Where's the pink slip for the car?
I don't have the pink slip, but I do have the title right here, the registration.
You do?
Yes.
Let me see it. Now, sir, you're going to tell me, Mr. Jackson, what morally you think you owe this lady. from the maybe $1,000 that you're going to get for this car, the title of which I hold in my hand.
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know, Your Honor.
Think hard, sir.
Well, she didn't file a claim with the GM.
Think hard, sir. You live in a place where you don't have a place to park your car? Is that right?
Correct.
So that she was really doing something that helped you, because if you had had to move your car within a week or so after moving out, which was what your original agreement was, right?
Well, we didn't have an original agreement.
You
to begin
said, can
with
I
when
leave
moved
my
out."
car here for a week or so when you left?
I don't remember saying that to her.
What did he say when he moved out?
Well, he didn't say anything. It's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars, too. Don't that go with the package?
Now, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to ask you one more time. How much do you think you ought to pay her for the inconvenience of having your jalopy in her backyard for 6 months? You better come up with a figure, sir, otherwise you stand to lose your car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Give me a figure, sir.
I would pay for the fence to be replaced at her house, because she has a wooden fence around her property, and there was 2 sections of it that fell down, and I'll agree to pay for the restoration to get it fixed.
How much will that cost you, Miss Mitchell?
I don't know, Judge. I really would hate to quote a figure.
Cost you about $200-300?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Well,
it's a half-acre piece of property. It's not a, it's not a from here to here. It's a half-acre piece of property. And the fence extends all the way down to here. And what happens the reason why it became such an inconvenience and I kept calling him is because when the fence is down, my property is insecure.
So, you're going to give him back his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Mitchell.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Here you go. Would you give this dirty old title back to him, please?
Yes.
Don't spill coffee on the title, Mr. Jackson, because you should keep it someplace safe. That's responsible. And you, madam, are going to get $500 to fix your fence.
Thank you very much.
Very good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I told you he was going to pay me. Didn't I tell you he was going to pay me? I told him. I said, you're going to be sorry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, but you should have been patient with me and give me enough time to get my car.
How much time do I have to give you? 6 months, honey, is a long time.
Yeah, but you know my situation.
I know your situation, yes. You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young floozies, and you don't have time enough to come over and take care of your business. That's the bottom line, am I right?
All parties on Richardson versus Richardson. Step forward.
Nurse Robbie Gilmore Richardson had her husband, Leonard Richardson, arrested after she says he beat her up. She bailed him out after 60 days. Now she's suing for the money she used.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Richardson versus Richardson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Richardson, there are several parts of your complaint against the defendant, who is, in fact, your legal husband. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me understand this sequence of events here. For some reason, which I am sure you will explain to me, the two of you decided to have a small civil wedding ceremony. Is that right?
Yes, we planned that, and we planned to have a wedding later when we got established.
And you say that sometime after the wedding, he assaulted you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you had him arrested?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, not intentionally.
What?
No, I didn't. I called the police, yes, Your Honor, I did.
And had him arrested?
Right.
And he spent a couple of months in jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you bailed him out?
Yes, Your Honor. He promised me when he filed his income tax, he was going to pay me back my funds.
From his income tax refund?
His income tax refund. He said if I bailed him out quicker, that he would has a good chance that he would go back on his job.
And you were ready to take him back?
Was I ready to take him back at the time? I was going to give it a trial basis just to see how he act when he get out of jail, yes.
Now, you were in jail for 2 months, sir?
Yes, I was.
Did she bail you out?
Yes.
How much did she put up to bail you out?
Well, the bail was $50,000, but I don't actually know how much she put up. But
how much did you have to put up to get him out of jail?
I put up $2,500.
Okay.
Okay, with monthly payments of $250, and I'm only working part-time.
Just a minute. $2,500 is the cash that you actually gave to the bail bondsman?
Right.
And then there was another $2,500?
Right, that I paid monthly.
So the whole bail was $5,000?
Right.
How many payments have you already made?
I only made like one payment because like I'm working part-time.
So you still owe the bail bondsman money?
Right. I still owe everybody else. And you know, and I'm trying. I only work part-time, and there's only so much I can do.
Can I see the paperwork for the bail bondsman, please?
Sure you can, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Richardson, how many times have you been in jail, sir? I just want you to think about it for a second before you give me an answer, because I'm really smart. I do my homework. So how many times have you been in jail, sir?
About twice.
About twice is not an answer.
Twice.
For what?
For possession.
Possession of what? Drugs
marijuana.
or
marijuana.
What? Possession of marijuana?
Yes.
When?
This was in '89.
And after that, sir? Give me the next one.
I think it was in '92.
For what?
Same thing.
Nothing other than marijuana, sir?
Nothing else I can recall.
Both of those were misdemeanors. Did you have just fines, or were you incarcerated?
Incarcerated.
For how long? In '89?
I think one time I did about 6 months.
You did 6 months? You must have had a lot of marijuana. And on the other one?
I can't recall.
More than 6 months or less than 6 months?
I think it was more than 6 months.
More than 6 months. Well, if you did more than 6 months, sir, it was probably felony weight drugs, right? Right?
That's what they considered it.
That's what they said. Now, so that's in, let's get back to this. That's in '92. And when was your next arrest after '92, sir?
My next arrest after '92.
Think. Hard.
I think I got, let me see, 93.
93?
Right.
For what?
I went for the same thing, but it was just
You don't learn, Mr. Richardson. How long did you stay in jail in '93?
I didn't do no time.
No time?
No.
So you got a freebie?
Right.
How was '94 for you, sir?
I don't remember '94. I don't remember '94.
'94. '94 was a good year. Let's move on to '95.
What happened in '95?
I'm asking you.
I don't remember. I don't recall.
Well, after '93, sir, when was the next time you were arrested? Think hard.
'94, '95.
94, 95, maybe 96, and then we come into '97, and you got arrested for this, so you were in jail for 60 days, right?
Yes.
Well, so far, sir, we've got more than a couple, 2, including this one. We have a couple, 4 or 5, including this one. Miss Richardson, let me ask you a question. Did you know how many times he had been incarcerated when you agreed to marry him?
Yes, he knew.
No.
Did you know how much time he had spent in jail?
He went to Frisco for some years. I lost contact.
You mean you didn't know how many times he had been in jail?
She knew.
Well, like around about maybe No, not exactly that. I never really know how many times he's been.
How many times have you been arrested?
How many times have I been arrested?
That's my question, Mrs. Richardson.
Okay, I was arrested one time. I stayed in jail a week. That was like maybe 10, 20 years ago.
And since then, nothing?
Nothing, no. I learned my lesson.
That's almost clean. That's almost a clean slate. So you knew, and I believe that you probably knew, that he had spent some time in jail. Spent some time in jail, and according to you, beat you up. And you still were going to give him another chance.
I've been knowing him for 8 years. This never happened to me. He never hit me before. Never.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, blows means you hit him and he hit you.
Only thing I did at the end was throw a shoe.
What?
One shoe.
One shoe?
One shoe.
And later today,
he told me he just saw her and he just flipped. So I said, what the hell you mean flipped? Then I asked him, why can't I come over to his house and just flip? Excuse me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gilmore Richardson says her estranged husband, Leonard Richardson, owes her part of the $50,000 bail to get him out of jail.
Now, tell me about the assault, because he says he's not going to pay you back because you really started this whole thing yourself.
No, I didn't start anything.
Right. But that's his
he told me
hey.
Why.
That's his defense. I don't say I believe his defense. What I'm asking you is, you tell me how this occurred, this assault. Tell me what happened.
Okay. One day we was getting out the car, going in the store, and you know, it was already something up in the air. You know, he was upset about something, okay? And then, you know, some words were passed and licks were passed.
Nah.
Look, just a second. Words were passed. You said something to him, he said something.
Right.
You said something to him, he said something to you, and then I believe you just said to me very quietly, licks were passed. Licks, I assume you mean blows. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, how did that start?
It started because he thought I was somewhere for about he was upset at me.
No, you thought I was out running around.
Mr. Richardson.
He thought he was upset with me that he didn't know about where my whereabouts was at a particular time.
Okay.
Okay, but
so you're having an argument verbally back and forth. Mr.
Right.
Richardson, you interrupt her again, you're going to be in serious trouble.
Okay, and then, you know, and then after that, it was, you know, some blows.
Well, blows, I know. Well, blows means you hit him and he hit you.
No, I didn't hit him.
You didn't hit him?
No.
All right.
You didn't hit him at all?
Only thing I did at the end was throw a shoe. One shoe.
One shoe?
One shoe.
And how many times did he hit you?
I don't remember that.
Were you seen by a doctor?
No, because I'm a nurse, so I went home and patched it up myself.
Did you take any photographs of your injuries?
It was photographs taken, but it's police property and I can't get a hold to it.
Oh, okay.
I tried, but I can't get it.
Okay, so you didn't go to the doctor. You were, in fact, injured.
Right.
Where were you injured?
My face. Mm-hmm. My back was all scraped up. Mm-hmm. And I had glass in my back.
Now, what happened with that criminal case, Mr. Richardson? Did you appear in court when you were supposed to?
Yes, I did.
And what happened with the case?
Well, it's still pending.
What? It's still pending?
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly not going to ask you any questions about this assault, sir. But that's really not what this case is all about, because you have a lawyer in that case?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell your lawyer you were going to proceed with this civil case before the criminal case?
It was all right.
You did?
Yes.
And the lawyer said it was okay?
Yes.
I would suggest you get yourself another lawyer.
So, excuse me.
In any event, now, Mr. Richardson, the only thing I want to ask you, sir, is your bail was set at $50,000, $5,000 cash. You put up $2,500 to get you out of jail. and she has to pay out another $2,500 to the bail bondsman, which is 10% of your bail, $5,000. You want to tell me why you don't think you should give her the money back?
Because I never told I would pay her.
Does the fact that you said you were going to get your income tax check refund back and that you would pay her the money out of your refund check, does that have a familiar ring of truth to it?
I would help her with some of the money, yes.
You told her you would help her with some of the money?
Yeah.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere. And how much help were you prepared to give her?
Well, it was only $500. I can only $200, $300.
Now, you say she did this getting you out of jail on her own. At the time when they said to you, Mr. Richardson, you are free to go, did you know it was your wife who had posted the bail?
Yes.
Yes. Did you say to them, I'm sorry, I can't go out of jail. I want to stay in jail because I can't pay her back? Did you say that?
No.
So, Mr. Richardson, pay her the money. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff.
Excuse me, I have something else to say, Your Honor.
What?
I had paid the attorney.
Madam,
and I got collect phone calls.
Do you understand? When I'm speaking, nobody else speaks.
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your
The
Honor.
financial limit in this court is $5,000. According to your bail receipt, that's what you owe. Both you paid and you owe to the bail bondsman. I'm not interested in any of your other claims, madam, because you've already reached the maximum that this court can give you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
He promised me when he filed his income tax that he was going to pay me my funds. $2, $5, something. $10, something. Give me something.
Got that.
No.
Even more. She called the police on her own line and called the police. And then she turned around and wanted to bail me out. Then she wanted me to pay her back all the money.
I don't think so. You didn't even give me $2, not 50 cents.
And now the next case.
Parties on Norris versus Lambert. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Latacia Norris says her former boyfriend, 20-year-old Kenneth Lambert, snatched her gold chain necklace.
I'm going to turn to you, sir. You dated the defendant for a while. You were her boyfriend.
Yeah, I was.
And then you broke up.
Yeah.
But while you were her boyfriend, you gave her a gold chain. Right?
Nah, that ain't right. Yeah, it's right.
What?
Nah, that's not right. Hers was stolen, so I gave her mine so she could have one.
While you were her boyfriend?
Yeah.
So you didn't buy her this gold chain, you gave her yours as a present.
Yes.
Right? And then you broke up.
Yes.
Then you were at a dance together and you saw her dancing around with somebody else.
Yes.
And that made you mad.
Yes.
So you went over to her and you tried to grab the gold chain she was wearing off her neck, according to you, right?
Yes.
Didn't come off right away with the first pull, so you pulled it again.
Yes.
And this time you did break it.
Yes.
But it turns out that it wasn't the chain you had given her, but a chain that she had borrowed from her mother, right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He needed a car.
I know.
Just a second. How unreasonable can you be? He needed a new Camaro.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Latacia Norris wants her former boyfriend, Kenneth Lambert, to pay for the gold necklace he snatched.
Step up here. You called him?
Yes.
You're Mrs. Norris?
Yes.
And what did you say to this gentleman when you called him?
When the incident first happened, I called him and asked him what right did he have to snatch on my daughter in the first place. He had no reason to be snatching on her, and why did he do it? He told me he just saw her and he just flipped. So I said, what the hell you mean flipped? Then I asked him, why can't I come over to his house and just flip? Excuse me. I was quite angry. As a matter of fact, this chain that Kenny did buy Latacia as a gift, it's this tiny. The chain that I had, it's this thick. I left a picture there. Surely you could tell that chain.
A picture? Let me see. When you started to say, you thought surely he could tell the difference between the chain
absolutely.
that he bought her and this chain.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he thinks that you fed it and it grew.
Maybe so. And,
okay. So this is the chain he broke. Now, he did say that he would replace it, right?
Yes, he did. When I spoke to Kenneth, he told me he would buy another chain. So sometime around November or so, he and my daughter left my house, going downtown to the Jewelry Mart to buy a chain. She told me Kenneth had bought a chain. So Kenneth told me he didn't have enough money to pay for it. He was going to put it on layaway. And I said, okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll have my chain by the first of the year.
And according to you, it was $300?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So it was $300 and he put down $25.
Yes.
Is that right, Kenneth?
Yes.
But then you didn't finish paying for it.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I had a child.
You had a child?
Yeah. And my child is more important than that chain. So I took care of my daughter. And on top of that, I bought a brand new car, so I didn't have the money to pay for it.
Run this by me again. You said it very quickly. You had a child.
Yeah.
And you went out and bought a brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of car did you buy?
Camaro.
A brand new Camaro. How much you pay for that a month?
About $340.
$340 a month. And how much do you pay for your child support?
$273.
There's your priority for you. Do you love that priority? $340 for your Camaro. And how much to what for your child?
$273.
And nothing for the chain?
Nah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now.
May I please add?
Sure.
I spoke with Kenneth throughout the time from now up until a month and a half ago. And I asked Kenny, I said, Kenny, when are you going to buy my chain? I said, you know, I call you or whatever, and you never return calls. He told me that they couldn't make long-distance calls on their phones. So I went by his house one day, and his cousin was there. And I said, Donnie, where's Kenny? And he says, I don't know. I said, well, Donnie, come on now. You know, tell Kenny I'm looking for him. I wrote him a note and said, Kenny, you lied to me. You told me you was going to get my jewelry. You lied.
He needed a car.
I know.
Just a second. How unreasonable can you be? He needed a new Camaro.
So meanwhile, his cousin here said to me, oh man, I thought Kenny took care of that a long time ago. Kenny don't take care of nothing, right? I said, yeah, that's true.
Well, Kenny takes care of some things. He takes care of making a baby and a Camaro.
Yeah. So I called Kenneth on his job.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
You go get your chain. It was $300, the one that you picked out?
Yes.
Go pick it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Party's out, excuse me. You want to step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Party's on Muhammad versus Nava. Step forward, please.
33-year-old business consultant Nikki Mohammed is suing 18-year-old Lily Nava for stealing his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily claims her friend was being attacked and used his car to get away.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 305 on the calendar in the matter of Mohammed versus Nava. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Oh, Bert, it always worries me when I see evidence in a plastic bag.
Me too, Judge.
Mr. Mohammed, you are suing the defendant. Would you stand up straight, please, as a court? For $750 because you say she stole your car and vandalized it. Is that right?
That's right.
You and the defendant went to a club together, correct? Dance club. You were with a male friend, and she had two other female friends with her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. It was a Mexican nightclub, so...
I don't see how that's particularly relevant, madam. Whether it was a Mexican nightclub or what kind of a nightclub
What would he
it was.
be doing at a Mexican nightclub? You know?
We're talking about his car, not about what kind of club it was.
Okay.
Just be quiet and pay attention. So you're inside the club and you're dancing and I assume doing what you do at a club, and it came time for you to leave. According to your complaint, you got into your car, You were in the passenger seat, front passenger seat, is that right?
Yes.
Your male friend and your two female friends were in the back seat.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, you acknowledge that you took his car.
I didn't take it. The police report doesn't say I took it, my friend took it.
That's what you say. You say your friend took the car and he left it at your brother's house. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, according to your complaint, sir, you got out of the car.
Yes.
Tell me why.
When I was leaving the club, there was a girl, excuse me, there was a girl that I spoke to earlier at the club. She flagged me down to talk to me. I parked my car, left the car running, went around the car to talk to the girl.
How far away from the car were you at that point?
2 feet. I was right next to my car. I was talking to her. My friend was in the car, so I felt safe since he was on the back seat. He got out of the car to join the conversation.
So he left the girls in the car too, and the two of you guys went and talked to this other girl.
We were standing right next to the car talking to the girls, correct?
Was there one girl or more than one girl that you were talking to?
One girl.
So the two of you guys were talking to one girl?
I was talking, he was listening.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then as sudden, I saw my car moving, like backing up. I looked at my car and then I saw Lily on the driver's seat. I tried to run after her to stop her, like telling her to stop. And the security guards in the club, they also ran after her, but she took off at high speed. I ran to a payphone in the parking lot. And I called 911, I reported the car stolen. The police responded within minutes. They tried to screen the whole area around like the club. They couldn't find the car.
Now, you ultimately, according to your complaints, had to take a taxi cab home for $100.
Actually, 115, and that was about 3 hours later because I had to walk for about 3 or 4 miles to get to the nearest payphone at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I called the cab and I went
And then
home.
you got the car back. Ultimately, they found the car.
Correct. Actually, she took the keys to the police department and she told them where the car is.
Okay. How much later?
I would say about at least 16, 17 hours later, I was able to locate my car.
Now, describe the car when you got it back, sir.
The car was very dirty. There was vomiting on the door, on the inside, on the interior and the exterior, on the carpet, on the leather. There was so much trash, like fast food trash from Jack in the Box. The property inside the car was badly vandalized.
What property?
I had a radar detector.
You had what?
A radar detector.
Radar detector.
That I paid $380 for it. This is the mounting bracket, and this is the wire connection, and that's all what's left from that device. My Ray-Ban sunglasses were flattened. Somebody has been sitting on them, so they're not usable. And as you can see, that the whole frame is twisted.
What's in the bag?
In the bag, actually, this is my belongings were left like this. If you look at them, some of them are business documents. Some of them are checkbooks that have been taken out of their cover. My credit cards were like.
Well, were these in a suitcase or an attaché case or just in the glove compartment?
I had them. Just on the floor. I had them like this in the trunk. I had them like this in bags like these in the trunk. And then when I found the car, everything was trash and the bags were empty and the credit cards were all over. Until this point, I don't know if there is any of the credit cards missing or the IDs that I have because it's just a big mess for me to go through it in such a short period of time.
All right.
If you want me to itemize the parts that were damaged or missing.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now let's hear your story. Look at me.
Okay.
Because I read your answer.
Okay. He picked us up and we went out. There was no intention, like, you know, we didn't go out as a date. We went as friends.
He called you or you called him?
He paged me, and I called him back.
So you called him?
Yeah, and he asked me, what are you going to do tonight? I said, I'm going to go out. And then he says, well, why? Because we were going to go out before, but I was like, I didn't want to go out with him. And then he came and he picked us up.
You and two friends?
Me and my friend here. My other friend, she moved already. They picked us up. They weren't even dressed to go to a club at all. I mean, he was wearing like jeans and some shoes with no socks and like almost a t-shirt. It was like a t-shirt. And we went out. He didn't do anything. All he did was sit down the whole night. We were on our own.
Miss Nava.
Yes.
He may not have been dressed to go out to a club. I think you are not in the position to even refer to that, since in my judgment, you are not dressed appropriately for court.
Well,
do you understand?
I'm coming from work.
Okay, whether you're coming from work. Did
I'm
you ever
coming
hear
from work.
Listen to me, Miss Nava.
You know.
Did you ever hear the word sweater?
I don't have a sweater.
Right.
It's hot
Come on.
outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was dressed was awful. Awful. No class at all. To drive a nice car like he does, he has no class dress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed and Lily Nava met at a club. Nikki says Lily stole his car and trashed it. Lily says her friend was being attacked and needed the car to get away.
And then what happened?
Him and his friends were out somewhere, and me and my friends were just our way. So it was time to leave, and we were leaving. Okay, I had went inside to go to the restroom. My friend was in the car, and my other friend was in the car. When I come back, my friend here, and it's sitting down, she was kind of drunk, and she was crying, saying that he was going up her skirt. Because she was out the sunroof. They were parked, and she was standing out the sunroof. That he was going up her skirt. And I was like, why are you doing that? And then he started yelling at her. I was like, why are you yelling at her? And he was like, hold on. And that's when we reversed, and he parked. So after that, my friend Sandra, she didn't drink at all. She was mad because of what he was doing to her. And she's here to explain it to you.
This one, the one who was drunk? The one who you just told me was drunk. She's going to explain it to me? This I got to hear. Right here. Shh.
Water.
Well, I was just like on the sunroof. I was outside saying bye to my friends.
You were on the sunroof?
Yes.
You mean you were sticking your head out of the sunroof?
Yeah, but the car was parked.
Oh. Okay.
And I was just saying bye to my friends because we have friends there. And all of a sudden, the guy, I don't know who it was. I just saw a guy with a beard. He was going up my dress. He lifted my dress up.
So you didn't know who it was?
No, I just saw a guy, because I saw his face, and I just saw, like, a beard on his face.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's it, and that's all it, and I got down, and I sat down, and I was crying, because nobody has ever done that to me. And I don't like that, so.
You shouldn't drink, to the point where you don't remember what's happening to you, madam.
No, I remember what happened to me. I know what he did.
She wasn't passed out.
Did you put your hands on her?
Your Honor, they were all wearing pants. None was wearing dress. So
She was wearing a dress.
I was wearing a dress.
And to answer your question, no, I did not.
Well, you were in the sun. Listen to me carefully. See, because I'm reading your answer here. Common sense suggests to me that the story that you're telling me is a lot of baloney. Let me tell you why. What I'm hearing is that he got out of the car to talk to another girl, which ticked you off.
No.
Just pay careful attention, because she's sitting in the back seat of the car. He was driving the car. How do you get him?
The car
we were parked in front of the club.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, the car was parked. It does make a difference.
Hey, listen carefully, ladies. So what you're telling me is, let me suggest this scenario, if it helps you. He got out of the driver's seat. He came back in the passenger seat where you were, because you were in the front passenger seat. That's what you just told me.
She was in the middle. The sunroof,
I was in the back.
The sunroof is right in the middle of the car. And she got up, and then he got back in the car.
See, I was gone. I just got up. I was waving bye to my friends.
It's in the middle. The sunroof is in the middle of the car.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Nava.
Nava.
You had two friends with you. One's drunk, right? And you just came back from the bathroom. And you're at a club where there are all kinds of security guards, right? Why didn't you take your drunk friend and your other friend and get out of the car and go into the club and say, we're having some problems with the people who brought us?
Because he was yelling at us, telling us to get in the car. He was like, get in the car, get in the car. I'm like, calm down, what's your problem? He's like, get in the car, we're gonna leave already.
So what you're telling me is, listen to me, so what you're telling me is, instead of, you were frightened of him. So instead
I'm not frightened of him.
So what did you get into the car?
I wasn't frightened, she was frightened. I just wanted to go home, that's all.
So why didn't you go? Who do you live with?
My dad and my brother.
So why didn't you go into the club and call your dad and call your brother? Let me tell you what you said here in your answer. Quiet! Let me tell you why. I read your answer and it all doesn't sound very kosher to me. You know what kosher means? They don't serve kosher food in a Mexican club. All right. You say Sandra will appear with me in court.
She left already.
Just a second. So she's not here. Sandra,
Yeah.
the one who you blamed for actually driving
I
the
didn't
car
blame
away.
her. She was driving.
No, that's what you say. I just rode
But the
along with
police
Sandra.
told-
Hey,
We didn't blame her.
Are you?
Said it.
Are you?
We didn't blame
Try
her.
not to talk over me. Listen, madam, you don't know what was happening. You were drunk and probably vomited all over the car.
No.
All right?
That's not even true.
So, listen to me. Try to listen, ladies. You say that you did this because you were afraid for your own safety and your friend's safety, and that's why you took the car.
I didn't do anything. My friend drove the car. I didn't drive nothing. She got in the car and we left. She said,
we were just in the car and she just took off.
The police called at my parents' house. This is what you wrote. And I told them exactly where they could find the car. And they picked up the keys from me with no problem or questions. And they recovered the car.
Because they asked for me at my house. And they were over my house. We came back in the morning to my dad's house. And the police called me.
You came back in the morning?
Yeah.
Well, where were you all night?
At my brother's house.
Why?
Why? Because that was the nearest place to get there. We just got there and we stood there. I didn't want to go home with the stolen car to my dad, so I went to my brother's.
Yes. I love it when a game plan comes together.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's older than she could drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
I wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed is suing acquaintance Lily Nava for taking his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily says she only borrowed the car and did no damage.
Let me see your damages, sir. You have...
I have $115 for taxi.
Okay.
I had $46.90.
Just a second, Bert. Turn on the buttons, because, you know, mother doesn't know how to do buttons.
That's all good.
Mother knows how to do truth, but not buttons. Go.
$115 for a taxi cab.
You're a big tipper. Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, it's about 35 miles.
It was $100 here that you wrote here in the complaint, sir. When you put it on the back here, you said $115. So I assumed that it was $100. You gave him a $15 tip. Don't lie to me. You want me to show you? You want me to show you your complaint?
Actually, it was miswritten. But anyway, it's $115 for taxi cab. It's $46.90 for rental car. It's $35 for the key emblem.
When did you rent a car?
The next day.
Why?
At 9:30, because I had no car. I had to go about my business.
Why didn't you tell your girlfriend to take you?
Madam. Madam.
When I received the keys back.
Ay, ay, ay. This is our future. Go ahead. This is our future.
When I received,
Come.
When I received
What
the
else?
keys, when I received the keys back, they were missing this emblem, $35 worth of emblem. The Whistler ES80 detector, that's worth $380. Ray-Ban glasses that are flattened for $125.
Get the Ray-Ban glasses.
$165
$165 for detailing.
For the what?
Detailing.
What's detailing?
Detailing the car, to clean the car, to clean
To clean it.
the
Oh, to
vomit.
clean it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
And
want to clean out the car.
$16 for jumper cables that were missing from the trunk.
Jumper cables.
I don't think that they took your jumper cable, sir. Hey, Bert, are
We
these
didn't
nice
take
Ray-Bans?
anything from his car. We left everything there.
Quiet. You trashed his car. There isn't a question in my mind that you and your friends trashed his car.
He could have put it all together by now. Look at that bag. It's been like 6 months now.
Mr. Mohammed, I want to tell you something. Bird, you like this?
Yeah.
It was still has it in the bag.
She may buy them.
$125 for the Ray-Bans?
Yeah. $125 for the Ray-Bans. What else?
That's it. That's
how much
the
we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items.
$682.90.
$682.90.
No. That is not correct.
That's what's got. Bird never makes a mistake with the calculator, sir.
$115.
I'm not giving you credit for the emblem, sir, on your keys. Go ahead. What else?
There are 7 items. If you add them up right.
These are the items, Bird. $165 for detailing, $125 for the Ray-Bans, $380 for the radar detector, $47 for the rental car, and $115 for a taxi cab.
$832.
Okay, now, Mr. Mohammed, you have to exercise good judgment, sir.
Sure. Yeah, you're too old for this.
How old are you?
I'm 18. He's 30, what, 5?
Madam, nobody dragged you in the car. Nobody told you that you had to go with him. Nobody said. Nobody said.
He lied about everything.
He lied
about
about
his
his
name,
age.
about his age, where he lived, everything. Everything he told me was a lie.
Good, so you stole his car. Stupid.
We didn't steal it, though.
Just a second. Let me explain something to you. This is dangerous business. Dangerous business. You acted like an idiot that night. You got one friend who's drunk. I don't know where the other one is. I don't know whether she had been drinking or not.
It's all right, though.
She doesn't drink. She's old enough to drink. The other girl's not old enough to drink. She's old enough, she could drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
I wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. Costa Rica. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Mohammed, be smart, right? Don't fool around with babies. These are babies. They're not fully cooked yet. The only thing that they are is stupid, because they shouldn't have been in your car. And they certainly, if they felt that they were threatened, which I doubt. See, because if I really felt that they were threatened by you or your friend, I would have some compassion for them. But it seems to me, if you feel threatened in a situation and you are in a place where there is all kinds of security, you take yourself...
But they don't even do nothing.
You take yourself inside to a phone booth where there are a lot of people, and you make a phone call to your father, your brother, whatever else.
He said it himself, the phone's not till 3 blocks away.
That's not true. They're in the parking lot.
Didn't you just say that?
No.
Yeah. And you're lying.
No.
Again.
It's right there in the police report.
Always lying. Always.
There is a phone in the club.
But he said he had to walk.
There is a phone.
He said he had to walk. He could have gone to the phone in the club too.
Madam, he said he chased your car.
Where? To the end of the parking lot?
God, get her out of here. Judgment in this case is with a plaintiff in the amount of $832.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The way he was dressed, just awful. Awful, no class at all. To drive a nice car like he does, he has no class or dress. Right now, maybe, but when he went out with us, no way. She was drunk. You know, I knew what was going on.
But see, that's all right. I'm old enough.
This is a joke, you know? This is a joke. He's a 30-year-old man. He's kind of grown.
Parties on Tyler versus Goldstein. Step forward, please.
31-year-old health worker John Tyler says his former friend and tenant, 27-year-old Joy Goldstein, owes him for unpaid rent. Joy is countersuing John for verbal, physical, and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 203 on the calendar in the matter of Tyler versus Goldstein. You okay, Judge?
Yes.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
People certainly do write a lot. So I had to ferret through these papers to try to figure out what you were suing each other for. I gather you rented a room in his house, and you leased the house from somebody else.
Correct.
You were forced to evict her.
Correct.
Because according to you, she violated the terms of the underlying lease that you had with the landlord. Correct. Because she brought in a puppy.
It's too faceted, ma'am. First was the dog that originally started this off. Then she refused to pay rent, and the actual rent.
Well, I understand that. She refused to pay rent because you were fighting about the puppy, and then after she refused to pay rent and continued to live there, then you had her evicted.
Yes.
So you want your rent and the cost of eviction.
Correct.
Now you, on the other hand, Miss Goldstein.
Yes, ma'am.
Are countersuing him for $5,000 because you say that you spent a terrible year and you can't recapture that year of your life.
That's correct.
I don't want you to get your hopes up, Ms. Goldstein, on your counterclaim.
I
Good.
don't have hopes other than this being over with.
Because grown people, if they make a mistake and they're not happy where they're living, they pack up their little bag and they leave. They don't stay where they are and then say, I'm miserable and I'm unhappy. Boo-hoo, now I have to get compensated from somebody who is neither related to me by blood or marriage because they made my life miserable. You pick yourself up and you move on. You got it?
He had an obligation to pay me for work that I had done for him.
Just a second. I'm talking about the work. Right now, you're supposed to pay him rent, and you stopped paying him rent. You want to tell me why?
I stopped paying him rent because he harassed me over and over again.
About what?
The list is long. I've got a stack.
Well, I'm not interested in the stack. If he harassed you and you were miserable, why didn't you move out?
Because I was waiting for a payment from him so that I could move out. I could not pay a first and last month or a security deposit without the money that he owed me.
Just a second. Now, you say he owes you some money for work that you did for him.
Yes.
When did you do work for him?
I worked for him the summer of '96.
Just a second. In 1996, you worked for him during the summer. And how much do you say he owed you in 1996?
He owed me $635. I have...
Just a second. He owed you $635. And
Yes.
when did you move in to his home?
I moved in on June 10th, 1997.
Now, between 1996 and 1997, why didn't you collect the money he owed you, allegedly owed you, from working for him?
Because there was never an explanation as to how to fill out paperwork. We were friends, as I said.
never filled it.
And it's very complex, Your
Well,
Honor.
I don't have time for very complex
I
things. All I want to
understand
know
this.
from you is, in 1996, which is over 2 years ago, you say you worked for him and he owes you money. You didn't collect it in all of '96. You moved into his home and you lived there for, what, 10 months?
Yes.
10 months. And the first month you paid him rent, right?
Yes.
The second month you paid him rent.
Yes.
And the third month you paid him rent.
Yes.
And I could go on and on and on. And you didn't say to him, well, listen, we have this $635 bill that you owe me, so let's take off $50 from the rent for each month that I'm here, so by the time this lease is over, you will have fully paid me. You didn't say that to him. You paid him.
I paid him, but may I say something?
Sure.
This man called me on May 28th of 1997, asking me to come in and fill in for his sick office manager, asking me for 1 week to cover for her. Your Honor, I already had 2 jobs, but the next day I showed up to help him out.
Ms. Goldstein, you know you're a Calamity Jane, and aside from the fact that you're a Calamity Jane, there's a little bit of a story that you're telling me, because I'm looking at your answer. And you say in your answer that the reason you didn't pay rent was because the landlord, his landlord, allegedly, and I don't have that testimony here, said you could stay there rent-free. That's what you say here.
Well, that's why it's complex, Your Honor.
No, what's complex is, for 2 years, you say he owes you money. You do nothing about it. Did you ever have a discussion with him about paying off this rent, utilities, and whatever else from the rent that you were supposed to pay him?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you have that conversation?
That is what I'm trying to establish.
Just tell me when you had that conversation.
It was after I started working for him that summer.
You worked for him for 1 week?
Oh, it turned into the entire summer, Your Honor.
Okay.
And it was throughout the course of...
Just a second. You worked for him for the entire summer of 1997.
May 29th until September 1st. That was the last day that I worked for him.
I assume, madam, since you are clearly not shy, you got paid for all of '97.
No, ma'am, I did not.
So you mean you worked? You mean you worked for him from May to September and you didn't get paid?
I got a portion of that payment.
What portion did you get? Let's start with what portion you got. How much money did he pay you during that period of time?
He paid me off of...
Judge Judy, I have it for you if you'd like. It's
How much did you pay her?
It was $3,937.50, leaving a net check at $2343.73.
Okay, this...
Then there was a...
Just a minute.
Sure.
Go ahead.
and then there was a discrepancy as to what pay sheets she turned in for 1997, and there was a big fault.
97 or 96?
97. I never got pay sheets from her from 1996. Until this very day, I've never seen one pay sheet from her for turning that stuff in.
This is such a lie. Oh my goodness.
I will verify that, ma'am, and I have this in writing here for her 1997 work. We made a compromise of splitting the difference of a couple little issues that we had for 1997. It was a couple $100. I said, I'll pay that to you. It's in her own handwritten form that was a fair compromise.
Let me see it.
Sure, ma'am. It is here.
Let me see it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not interested in the harassment, Miss Goldstein.
This man is lying to you.
You're full of baloney, madam.
I am so
baloney.
not.
And later today,
a song called
Song called
well, my song is actually called
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Tyler says Joy Goldstein owes him for back rent and eviction fees. Joy says John owes her for 10 months of harassment.
Okay. This is in your handwriting.
Pardon me?
Just a second.
Here,
Dated January 5th, 1998. And it says, John, as per your suggestion today, I will expect a non-taxed reimbursement check for $237. Though our final compromise...
In quotes.
Yes, I understand. So what? That's what you say, your final compromise. You're accepting it as a final compromise. And you say you're still complaining that you're the lowest paid worker or instructor there, but you're accepting it. And then you say, once I receive this money, quote, parens, $237, I will be able to close this summer pay issue fully, allowing me time and money to deal with other financial issues.
You know, Your Honor, at that point in time, I had suffered so much grief because of his constant harassment. You do not understand what
I want to tell you what I understand, madam. You took this check, so I don't want to hear anything else about 1997. You got a check for $237. This is in your handwriting. You accepted it. The issue of 97 is closed. And I'm not going back to 1996. Now.
Thank you.
1996, I have paperwork that proves that he owes me money.
Just a second. He says he never got the paperwork, madam. Did you ever
He could say whatever he wanted, though, couldn't he?
Miss Goldstein, I'm going to tell you something. I don't, A, believe that it was an issue, and I don't, B, believe that it was the reason that you didn't pay him rent for your apartment.
Thank you.
I don't believe that that's why you didn't pay him rent. Because he owed you money from 2.5 years before.
No.
Good.
That was
fine. How
just
much?
a small
listen
part
to me,
of it.
Mr. Tyler.
Yes.
I've had enough of the histrionics.
Thank
How
you.
much was the rent she was supposed to pay?
The rent she was supposed to pay is $550. I have that in...
Just a second. $550. That's a month's rent.
Correct.
Now, what were the expenses for eviction? Let me hear.
330, let me see, it's $355, Your Honor.
Let me see.
$355.
I assume you're standing there for a reason. Who are you?
Yes, I'm Jennifer, and I also used to work for John and Joy's girlfriend.
What do you know about this case that you think I must know about, madam?
She was there through
For just
every
about
bit
all
of
of it.
harassment.
I
I'm
was
not
there-
interested in the harassment, Miss Goldstein. You have to understand something.
I left, Your Honor.
Good.
Oh,
you should have left before. You should have paid your rent, and then you move out.
He owed me money. It was his suggestion,
No,
Your Honor.
no,
You
Miss
didn't
Goldstein.
give me an
Miss
opportunity.
Goldstein, you're full of baloney, madam.
I am so
baloney.
not.
This had nothing to do with what he owed you in 1996.
It
You accept-
absolutely has everything to do with it.
Yeah, in your mind, madam. Because if he owed you money, and if somebody failed to pay me money for 2 years that they owed me, they would be in small claims court within 3 months. You didn't do that.
I misunderstood the 96 part. 97, the day I came in, Your Honor, he expressed to me that because I was now working for him and going to be moving in, if I opted to, if I would like, he would take the money I earned there and go ahead and forward that into my rent.
Just a minute.
By the time
Did you
I
ever
moved
say
out,
that?
Never.
She
And
is
it's not in
almost
your
too
answer.
young. You sit in
I
the
want to tell you
kitchen.
something. You've got a pretty vivid imagination, Miss Goldstein.
Thank you.
When do you tell the truth and when do you tell a lie?
It is
At what
all
point?
the truth, Your
At what
Honor.
point?
If you look at it, it is all plainly truth. May I show you this, please?
No.
This is a record of every check I paid. I paid my rent on time. I wanted to
Show
take
me,
care of
just
everything.
a second. Show me March.
Show her this.
Show me. Say nothing. Show me. Marches.
This
check.
is what I show you. I show you that I spoke to the owner of the house.
Is that just a second, Bird?
No, it is
Bird,
not.
is that a check?
No.
Is that a money order?
No.
Is that a withdrawal from an ATM?
It is a dismissal, Your Honor.
Would you please give it back to her?
Okay. This man is lying to you.
No, you're lying, Miss Goldstein. You're lying about the things that are germane to this lawsuit. A, you gave me 6 different reasons why you didn't pay rent, and one of them is that the landlord forgave you rent. Okay? One of them is that he owes you money from 1996 and 1997. Clearly, he doesn't owe you any money from 1997 because you accepted a check of $237 in full satisfaction of anything that he owed you in 1997. Now you're looking at it, you say, I'm not satisfied. I was under a lot of stress from living with him. And I'm looking at you, and somebody who's got a mouth like yours doesn't live or shouldn't live in a situation, I don't care if you move in with her. Move in with a friend. Move in with somebody else. You don't live in a stressful situation where your life is being made miserable every day by somebody.
Do you understand?
Oh, I understand.
Yes, you understand.
Judgment in this case for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. All I can say is the judge saw it fairly, and it's great. There's no problem with it whatsoever.
I had my peace taken away from this man, and this is just icing on the cake.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cantor versus Hot Talk. Step forward, please.
21-year-old office manager Tim Cantor says 41-year-old radio DJ Tom Spence didn't give him his winning prize for his parody of the song by the Crash Test Dummies.
Are you the host of this radio program, sir?
Yes, I am.
Radio program is called Hot Talk?
Hot Talk Cafe is what
Hot
we
Talk
call
Cafe.
it. Yes.
And your program was running a contest. You entered the contest.
Correct.
And you say that you won the contest,
I was told by him that I won the contest.
and you didn't get your prize.
Correct.
So tell me about this contest.
I entered a contest that was advertised in a local newspaper for, it was a song parody contest for Weird Al Yankovic.
For what?
Weird Al Yankovic, a musician, was in town in the Ventura County Fair to do a concert. So it was a song parody contest that I entered, and I entered lyrics to a song that I had written by the Crash Test Dummies.
By what?
A band called the Crash Test Dummies.
Crash Test Dummies.
Mhm.
There is a legitimate band that's called the Crash Test Dummies.
It was a one-hit wonder band.
What was their hit?
A song called
Love it. I love it. It's a song called
Correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pick your best verse, sir.
Says, once there was this song that got a little overplayed and lost everyone's interest.
I suppose you have a regular line of work.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Tim Cantor says radio DJ Tom Spence didn't give him his winning prize for his parody of the song by the Crash Test Dummies.
You wrote a parody to
Mhm. No.
I assume that you have this memorialized in a writing.
Correct.
Go to it.
Well, my song is actually called and there's 3 verses in the song. The first verse is making fun of
Pick
the
your
original
best
song.
verse, sir.
The first verse is actually making fun of the original song by the Crash Test Dummies. It says, once there was this song that got a little overplayed and lost everyone's interest. And when MTV played it, the viewers always complained about gas pains. They couldn't quite explain it. It always just happened.
I suppose you have a regular line of work.
Yes.
So he entered the contest and he won.
He did win.
You say that with some doubt. He won.
He won. Correct, I'm sorry.
What was the prize?
The prize was tickets to see Weird Al Yankovic in concert.
Weird Al Yankovic.
For quite a few years, he's been doing parody songs of hit songs, writing funny lyrics to them.
Did you send him his tickets?
We called him and said, I left a message on a machine that number, and I said, you won. You can come by and pick up your tickets. He didn't come by. The show was that night, and there they went. We did make an effort to contact.
So what are you going to do to make this up to him? He won.
We did offer him various prizes that are of a like value, and he couldn't decide on any one. I think I had about 3 contacts with him via phone.
Right.
He was suggesting what prizes he should get as compensation. We had things like concert tickets and so forth.
Well, this was 4 concert tickets, is that correct?
And tickets to the Ventura County Fair and $50 worth of food at the fair.
Okay, so how much were the tickets, the concert tickets worth?
The tickets were worth, since there was 4 tickets, it ended up being $24 for the 4 tickets, and then $50 worth of food on top of that.
So it's parking. So it's $79 total.
Is that right?
Yes.
$79 total.
Yes, that's what it originally started at.
And so why shouldn't it be $79 now?
Well, I live in Orange County, and the radio station is out in Ventura County. And over the last 10 months, I've been trying to contact the radio station. I've left several messages. I'm very rarely called back. When I am called back, they usually give me the runaround. I've worked with the station manager most of the time. And when I originally talked to her, she told me that I can be as picky as I wish because they messed up. And I could take any tickets they want.
May I?
Sure. Step right up here.
This is my partner.
I am the promotions director for KTR, AM 1520.
And your name?
Paul Smith. He has harassed a number of our employees at the station, and unfortunately, due to if a guy keeps calling back and they're offering him a prize of like value, and he just consistently says no, he doesn't want it, and then harasses the person that answers the phone. There's more than one person that answers the phone.
So why don't you just say to them, listen, we're going to send you a gift certificate or a check for $100, go to see whatever concert you like.
We tried to on a number of occasions.
You tried to? Is that right?
No.
Just a second. Is that right?
No, I specifically asked this station manager one time if she could just give me the cash value of the contest, and she had told me no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Did they offer you other tickets?
They've offered me a couple of the tickets.
So why didn't you take them?
Because I didn't feel that they were equivalent to the original prize.
All right, listen, this is not the Scopes trial. It's also not the trial of the century. This is worth $100. That's what it is. Judgment is issued for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
On Gatewood versus Boughton. Step forward, please.
32-year-old restaurant manager Guy Gatewood is suing 29-year-old photographer Nicole Boughton for false arrest.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 282 on the calendar in the matter of Gatewood versus Boughton. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, gentlemen.
Let's see if I can unravel this rather complicated complaint. Mr. Gatewood, you and Miss Boughton were friends in 1995.
Yes.
And in that year, you sold her a used car.
Yes.
How much did you sell her the car for?
A sum of $2,000.
And she was supposed to repay you at the rate of $250 a month. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
And you say in your answer that he was pretty reasonable about late payments and that sort of thing.
Right.
But you were paying off this car. What kind of car was it?
A VW Bug.
They're cute.
Yeah.
Right? So there came a time sometime a couple of years later when she hadn't been making her payments and you were worried about the insurance on the car. You decided to repossess the car.
Yes.
So in the still of the night, without telling her, right?
Oh, no. There was a...
Did you tell her you were going to repossess the car?
There was a letter sent to her, yes.
That said what? If you don't, I will?
What?
If you don't pay, I will repossess the car. Right?
Right.
But then you didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car. Day and date.
It gave her till the end of the month, which was...
Mr. Gatewood, do you understand what I'm saying to you? You didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car.
The exact day and time? And no,
right.
No.
So, without telling her when you were going to repossess the car, this former friend of yours, you went to where the car was parked.
Yes.
And took it.
Yes.
And the registration was still in your name.
Yes.
Because that was your arrangement.
Yes.
She did what any normal person would do, getting up in the morning. You looked outside and you saw...
No car.
So you?
Called the cops.
You got arrested.
Pulled over, yeah.
For stealing your own car.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What people do to each other and to themselves. This is really so fascinating. I was fascinated when I read this complaint. Now, ultimately, it was okay because you spoke to the police and were able to convince them that it was your car.
Yes.
How long were you in custody?
About an hour and a half.
Was it scary?
Yeah, to say the least.
You ever been arrested before?
Never. I've never even darned bracelets.
What? Did they actually put you in handcuffs?
Yeah, I was on my knees and they put me in cuffs.
Tell me about that. I'm really curious to know.
I was driving home and I noticed the cop following me, and I eventually made it home and I pulled into my parking lot, or my carport, and I get the lights and I'm thinking, okay, what's this all about? And I get out of the car and I get this spotlight in my eyes and he says, throw the keys to the ground. I'm like, okay. He's like, turn around, put your hands on your head. I'm like, okay. And then he says, walk backwards towards my voice. And I did. He says, stop. And I feel something on my back and he says, get on your knees. I'm like, execution time. And they cuffed me. And I'm like, am I under arrest? And he says, no, you're in custody. I said, can you please explain the difference to me?
Did you say that to him?
Yes.
Did he have a sense of humor?
Not at this time. And so he says, can you explain to me instead why you're driving a stolen vehicle? I said, this isn't a stolen vehicle, this is my vehicle. And he says, what's your name? And I said, Guy Gatewood. He says, well, you got that part right. Then, you know, explain this to me.
Had you known at that time that she had called the police?
No. No. This is just like completely...
So what you were suing her for is for having called the police and having had you arrested falsely.
Mm-hmm.
So you want some damages for that. And then you want some money for the car.
There's still a balance due on it.
Okay. Well, first let's take care of the car business, and
Sure.
then we'll get into this arrest business, because I have to figure out exactly how much, if anything, you're owed on the car, because she says that she paid money towards the car and she is countersuing you for the car, and then you're countersuing him, Miss Barton, for some nonsense, which I categorize as nonsense, which is the emotional distress of not having your car. Something like that, which I'm not even going to think about because that's a lot of baloney. Now, how much did you pay for this VW Bug, sir?
How much did I pay for it?
That was my question. I'm sure you have an answer.
Initially, when I got the car, I paid $500. I then
Okay.
fixed the car up, put a brand new motor in it, fixed the body, did the interior as well. It came to about $2,400.
Let us assume, for the moment, you paid $2,300 for the car.
Okay.
All right? How many payments did you make on this car?
I had about 2 more payments left. I owed him about $600 more on the car.
How many payments did she make on the car?
She made 4 payments on the car. She only owed $425 on the car.
So she paid you, in total, how much?
$1,575.
Okay. And how much money did you sell the car for, sir? Because your complaint says that you sold the car after you repossessed it.
I've resold the Volkswagen for $200.
Why?
For the condition that it was in when I got it back, it wasn't worth much more than that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
The idea that he came at night and took it was a total passive-aggressive, miserable move that is typical of Guy Gatewood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says he was embarrassed when he was handcuffed and led away after he repossessed Nicole Boughton's car. Now he wants payment for the car and the emotional distress.
Who did you sell it to?
A neighbor downstairs. for his wife so she could go back and forth to work.
Let me see the bill of sale. What year Volkswagen was this?
It's a 71 Super Beetle.
Mr. Gatewood.
Yes.
You were driving this car when the police pulled you over.
Yes, I was.
Where were you driving it from, sir?
I was driving it from Shooter's Bar in Huntington Beach.
What is the distance between this barn and your home?
2 miles.
And how long had you been driving the car from the time you repossessed it until the time they repossessed you?
It was stored most of the time. Maybe 2 or 3 times I took it out to keep it running. I also have another Blazer and a motorcycle that I use frequently.
Now, Mr. Gatewood, just because you do a bill of sale for $200, sir, doesn't mean that I believe that you sold this car for $200, because the car was clearly a drivable vehicle. Drivable vehicle, cute little car, almost vintage, you know, 71 VW Bug. Was a convertible or not?
No, it's not convertible.
So just because you wrote $200 here doesn't necessarily mean I believe that you were paid $200 for it in total.
I'm not the only signature on that statement.
You're talking about the buyer?
The buyer also.
Oh, well, it would certainly serve. The buyer would certainly say that he only paid $200 for the car, because that means his tax when he has to register the car is a lot less. People do that all the time. It's wrong and it's illegal, but people do it all the time when they sell cars that are used cars. They say, hey, listen, put down $200, I'll give you $800 for the car, and then I only have to pay tax on $200. You understand that, Mr. Gatewood?
I understand your point of view.
Now, what did you, after you found out that the car wasn't there, you called the police. When did you realize that he had taken the car?
About 3 days after I made the report. I didn't hear from him. I called him. As soon as I called the police, I was like, your car's been stolen. I know I still owe you money on it. I'll pay you the money I owed on it, but just to let you know, it's been stolen. So if you get any calls about it being found, then call me back. I didn't hear from him.
And he didn't tell you that he had taken the car?
No.
Right?
Right.
Right.
I was told by legal advice not to speak with her.
Just a second.
Sure.
She told you that she had reported the car stolen.
No, she didn't tell me that she
What
called
did she
the police.
say?
She left on the answer machine. She goes, I don't know if you have the car or not, but it's not up here. Give me a call. And that was it.
And did you call her?
No.
Well, didn't you think that she might call the police and report the car stolen?
Yes, but I didn't think they'd take a stolen police report without proof of ownership.
Well, then, that's your problem, Mr. Gatewood, so I'm dismissing that part of your complaint for having you arrested, because it seems to me she did the right thing by calling you immediately, and if you wanted to be smart, you could have had a friend or someone else call her and say, he doesn't want to speak to you personally, he has the car. When did you find out that he had possession of the car?
Like I said, it was about 3 days after. When he didn't call and tell me, make any comment about it being stolen, is when I knew that he must have taken it. I mean, because that's a part of his character that I wouldn't doubt. So a friend of mine was like, do you think he took it? And I'm like, you know, he's just miserable of enough person to have done that, but I'm not going to call him until I chill out, because I was pissed. I had no notification.
Say, listen to me, you're in court. Try angry.
Angry. I was angry. I was out of control. No, I wasn't out of control. I was just angry. I was amazed that he could have done anything so low without any notification. But like I said, it's part of the nature that I knew of him.
So what did you do? Did you call the police?
I called the police and I said, I made a report a couple days ago. This is the number. Scratch that report. He goes, well, was the car stolen or wasn't it stolen? I said, well, it was taken without notification by its registered owner, so I don't know if you'd call that stolen. But it's not stolen, it's in the owner's hands. When I got a call from the Huntington Police Department a couple months later saying, we recovered your car, I knew something definitely went wrong with the reports. I called him immediately. I'm like, Guy, I need to talk to you about your car. There's some problems. If you need my help with anything, call me. And I will totally help you straighten it out. I never heard from him.
He should have told you. He should have notified you immediately that he had repossessed the car. That's what you do when you repossess a car. You tack a notice on the door. This property has been repossessed.
I sent her a registered letter.
Did she pick it up?
She refused it.
Can I see it?
It was...
Well, that's all right. She refused it, so there was no notice. If you had a receipt that she had received it, that's one thing. Why didn't you just leave a message on her machine that you had the car, sir?
Because I couldn't prove that she would acknowledge the fact that she received any information from me.
You could have done both. Right? You could have done both, you know?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says Nicole Boughton owes him for a car and a false arrest. Nicole says Guy owes her for payments and repairs she made on the car.
In any event, Mr. Gatewood, I'm really sort of surprised that you repossessed the car anyway, since she owed you just a couple of $100s on the car.
I waited 9 months, 3 of which she lived with me, to receive any form of further payment towards it, and there was nothing coming in. I sent her a letter saying, you know...
What do you mean she lived with you? She lived with you as boyfriend and girlfriend, or she lived with you as a tenant?
She was a tenant in one of my... I had a spare bedroom. She rented it out.
And while she was living with you, she was driving this car, and she did not make any payments.
No.
But then she moved out. But she paid you almost everything that was owed on the car.
75% of the thing, yes.
How long did you have the car?
I don't know, about a year and a half,
2 years, almost.
Yeah. We can talk about the repairs of this perfect car that I paid twice of what it was worth when I first bought it, and I had to immediately put in at least $1,000 on this perfect car. That the money went to his buddies at his garage, who charged me so much for repairs.
Did. Just a second. Nobody forced you to go to his garage, right?
Well, I thought they would.
Spartan, nobody forced you to go to his garage.
You're right.
And when you buy a used car that's 25 years old.
But when it's supposedly in good condition,
What everybody says.
in great condition.
Everybody says it's a cream puff. Isn't that the right word? It's a perfect car.
Anyway, he knew of these repairs, and that's why he wasn't getting some of the car payments on time, was because I was putting so much money into fixing this cream
Listen,
puff.
he's not your partner in this tragedy.
What's that?
He's not your partner in this car tragedy. You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse, right? Cars are no different from people. So you buy a 25-year-old car, you be prepared, even if the owner of the car says it's in great shape, to pay whatever it is. If you get disgusted paying for the repairs, then you sell it. But you don't charge it off. Because a bank wouldn't understand if you went to a bank and you say, well, I had to pay repairs for the car, and I had to pay my phone bill, and I had to pay this, and I had to pay that, so I can't pay you this month. They wouldn't have tolerated it. But I have a problem, because you two clearly knew each other. You were friends. You knew each other for a long time. She lived in your house. And Mr. Gatewood, I don't understand why you treated this in nothing more than what apparently is an arm's-length transaction by going and repossessing the car, not notifying her immediately. Not notifying her immediately. Even if you send her a registered letter, that takes a couple of days to get there. Any normal person coming out of their house, not seeing their car, would call the police. Then you are at risk, sir. So you caused that problem yourself by repossessing the car without advising her that you were going to do it, or at least repossessing the car at midnight, tacking a notice on her door, I have in fact repossessed the car. If you have any problem with that, I'll see you in court. Whatever it is. But you didn't do that. So if you got arrested, that's your problem. So that part of your lawsuit is dismissed. And the only thing that I have to try to figure out is who owes who money for this car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Now, you have any proof that you paid $2,300 for this car?
That was all in parts, receipts, stuff like that.
Well, let me see.
I did bring anything like that with me because I didn't feel it would be necessary for today.
And you say you bought it for $500?
Yes.
So let's see how much you made. So you don't have any proof of how much you put in to have it fixed for me. So let's say you put in nothing. So you bought it for $500. You got $1,575 from her, and you got another, according to you, $200 from your neighbor. 5, 7, 12. So far, you got $1,775 for a car that you paid $500 for. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, on the other hand, Miss Barton, you had the use of a car for almost 2 years.
Right.
At about $750 a year, right?
Plus all the repairs.
That's what happens when you have a car. You do repairs on a car when you have a car. So for $750 a year, you had basic transportation.
Basic, very basic.
Did you have another car or just this car?
It was great.
It was great. So that seems to me as if, that's nice, 12 months. Comes out to what, less than $50 or $50, $60 a month to own a car? That's not bad. You have insurance for this car?
Not anymore.
Did you have?
Did I have?
Paid up insurance all the time?
All the time, no, not all the time.
Well, that was one of the reasons you repossessed the car, right?
I don't know.
Just a second.
He had more excuses for taking the car.
Let me ask you a question. No, he's very clear in his complaint. He says he was concerned because the car's in his name, and you told him you didn't have money to keep up the insurance. So he was afraid if he got into an accident in this car, they were going to come and take away his other car and everything else that he owns, right? So you didn't have insurance on the car,
okay?
Right? Mm-hmm. Oy. Sounds to me as if you made out okay, Mr. Gatewood, in the sale of the car. Sounds to me, Miss Barton, that you brought on some of this on your own, had no insurance on a car. You certainly weren't going to get stuck if the car was in an accident or if you hurt somebody. He was going to get stuck. He's the registered owner, and you have nothing because you couldn't even make the car payment, so they couldn't go after you. So it sounds to me as if you two folks absolutely deserve each other. Your complaint is dismissed. Your countersuit is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He knows me really well. He knows I'm a very distracted artist. He could have made it a little bit more clearly without being so passive-aggressive about, look, I really don't appreciate what situation you've put me into. He never communicated anything with me like that.
No.
Whatever's in the past is in the past. Everything ends the way it's supposed to end.
Parties on Spann versus Wilson. Step forward, please.
Janet Spahn, a 35-year-old housewife from Colorado, is suing her former babysitter, 18-year-old Eric Wilson. 2 years ago, Eric was arrested for stealing money from Janet's home. Now, Janet alleges more money is missing and believes Eric is to blame.
Okay. Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 163 on the calendar in the matter of Spann versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, let me understand this case. Miss Spahn, this young man babysat for you, for your children.
Yes.
A couple of years ago.
Yes.
And at that time, he wasn't doing so well. You didn't know it at the time?
No, I did not.
But you had a drug problem?
Yes, I did.
And you had been involved in a series of criminal activity that you're not
correct.
proud of now, I understand.
That is correct.
You're his mother?
Yes, I am.
While he was babysitting for you, he stole some money.
Yes, he did.
And he was arrested and prosecuted.
Correct.
What was your sentence?
I got theft charges. I was ordered to pay restitution in the amount that she had requested.
How much was that?
It was $900, I believe, and it ended up being $1,200 after all of the fees and everything, all the victim assistance, all of that. And I paid that in full, and I was ordered to go on to probation. I finished all my probation stuff. I did my community service, paid all my restitution.
What kind of community service did you have to do?
Weekend work crew. I'd have to go up into the mountains and dig trails and stuff, and kind of.
And according to your complaint, Ms. Spahn, you found out that there was more money taken that was originally either reported or somehow the paperwork, the police paperwork,
yes,
was lost.
It was not in the actual record, the original record, which is, this is the original report, and this is the second report, which we did file within the statute of limitations, that showed the additional $900 was missing. Now, it was $1,100 originally, which we were paid the restitution after, you know, the balance was paid, and this is the additional $900 that was missing, which is what I am here for.
Your neighbors?
Yes.
Ms. Spahn, if I find out that what this young man says in his answer is true, this is a sympathetic case on both sides. Because what this young man says, and his mother seems to confirm, is that in the last 2 years he has, in fact, turned himself around. Drug-free?
To a point, yes.
What do you mean to a point?
I've been working on it. I have been clean for about a month now.
What kind of drugs were you using?
Marijuana and alcohol.
You can't just work on that, sir.
Yeah.
You have to, after 2 years.
I know.
Stop.
It does take time, and it's kind of hard. It's
Well-
a difficult thing to do, and with the right people around me and the right kind of stuff in my head and not hanging around the bad crowd, I think I can do it.
Did you get your GED?
Yes, I did.
That says that you did here and that you scored rather well.
Yes, I did.
Have you been arrested in the last 2 years?
No.
Since this incident? You seem to say, the
Yes, he
smile
was.
on your face suggests to me that you know he's been arrested
Yes,
since.
he was. The officers actually called me at home.
When?
3 months later, my house was broken into. We assumed it was him, and the police called me to verify that he was arrested 2 days later. And that's when he went to the detention center up at Lookout Mountain.
I never went to Lookout Mountain. I did go to a detention center for a shoplifting charge, Mount View Detention Center.
Let's talk about the last year.
Okay.
Have you been arrested in the last year?
No.
You had to hesitate for a minute.
Well, I wasn't quite sure. I haven't been arrested. I haven't gone to jail or anything, no.
Well, I didn't ask you whether
I
you went
did
to
get a
jail. I asked you
ticket.
whether you were arrested.
I did get a ticket.
What kind of ticket?
Underage drinking.
Ms. Spahn, why is it, first, that that second amount of money, that $900, was not originally reported?
That was up to the sheriff that made the report out, and it explains it all here in this report.
Let me take a look at it.
Showing that the original $900 that was originally stolen was never made it onto this report. And that states it there.
How old are your children?
Almost 7, and the other one is 4.5.
So they were 2 and 5 when he babysat for you?
Actually, yes, around there.
Did he take good care of them?
Do I? Of course.
Did he take good care of them?
No.
But you used him as a babysitter frequently?
4 times.
And you were dissatisfied the first, second, and third time?
The third time. And that's when we had found out that money started disappearing out of the house. I came home, my son had a bloody nose, he was in bed, he had blood all over his face and everything, and he had just left him. Obviously, he was going through my house at the time, rummaging through everything that I own.
You want to tell me about taking the money from her house?
Well, I was with my cousin, which was unmentioned to this point so far. He lived in Tennessee at the time, and I actually was not taking part in the theft of the money.
What do you mean you weren't? Listen to me, Mr. Wilson, I want to know. It's very important that when you answer questions that I pose to you, that you tell me the truth.
Right, I understand.
You understand that?
Yes.
I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear nonsense. I don't want to hear that you didn't take part in it. If your cousin was with you and you saw him take the money, and the reason he had access to her house is because you were there, then you're responsible. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that the kind of excuse you were going to make to me?
No, not exactly.
Oh, well, then I'll hear your excuse.
It's okay. I guess I'll just say I took it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I drive by their house.
Kids and your dogs
I drive by their house, and their little kids flip me off.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janet Spahn claims her former babysitter, Eric Wilson, stole a large amount of cash from her house and wants him to fess up and pay her back.
Well, I'm being very serious with you. If your cousin was with you from Tennessee, which is what you say here, and that you took the rap for him.
I did.
But your cousin had access to her home through you.
Yes, she agreed. She agreed that my cousin could be with me when we were babysitting. She did agree to it. And when I got back the next day and when I found out the next morning that money was missing, I asked him, and we had gone shopping that night, and he had said he had some money left over. Let's go have a good time, you know. I didn't know it was stolen from her house.
But it had been stolen over a period of several days, not just one day. How many days was your cousin at the house with you?
I believe he did go twice with me.
Mm-hmm. You paid the restitution yourself. Did you ever try to get any money from your cousin?
No.
Why not?
Well, when my grandfather had died, my aunt and uncle, we were out playing basketball and stuff, and my uncle actually kind of assaulted me, so we haven't spoken to them since.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But you asked that your cousin could accompany you in this babysitting job, and she gave permission.
Yes.
So your cousin did have access to her home through you.
Correct.
All right. Now, she says that there's an additional $900. Why did you keep so much cash in the house?
We had just sold a 1926 Model T in California here, and we had brought the cash home, and we had not deposited into the bank yet because we were having a carpenter come in to redo our basement. So he wanted to be paid cash, and it had only been 1 week that we had the cash in the house.
Was the cash kept all in one place?
Yes, it was. It was in a sock rolled up in a locked bedroom behind a bed.
So how come you didn't know at one time how much was missing?
We knew that some money was disappearing. My husband was accusing me, and I didn't know where the money was at the time.
What do you mean, missing from the sock?
Yes, a little bit at a time. And then we put 2 and 2 together, and we had set up some tape in the bedroom door. So when the door had been opened and unlocked, that the tape would be stuck at the top of the door, which it was. He had entered the bedroom, and the sock was on the side of the bed with half the cash hanging out. That was the last night. That was when there was $1,100 taken out that was one day. He took $1,100 out.
How much money in total was in the sock?
$4,000 total.
And how much was
$2,000 ended up missing. $1,100 was retrieved through court and through the money that he had left. He had used credit cards out of my purse and everything else.
Did you do that?
No.
Who did?
I have no.
I have a document right here.
Of that.
Let me see what you have.
brought up a card.
Yeah.
It was done on the same day that he had stolen the $1,100. It was notarized and said that that somebody had tried to purchase video equipment, which is what he bought with our money when they retrieved it.
Did you find your credit card?
Oh, yes, I did. The credit card had not been activated yet. So that's why they notified us. So all these things happen within like a week.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me why you don't think that you should be responsible for this additional $900, which I believe was missing.
Well, when she did originally say it, it did change. The amount of what was missing changed 3 different times. We told the judge this at the original trial or original hearing. I pled guilty to the charge. I paid my restitution in full. I paid what the judge ordered me to pay. I paid what she asked the judge to pay, the requested amount. I paid the requested amount. I got off of probation. I paid all my restitution. I filled my debt to society. I'm trying to get back on the straight and narrow, working hard.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, this report suggests that there was some sort of a snafu in the police paperwork, that the money was reported missing, but somehow missed it when it was ultimately presented to the court. So we're faced with a situation where this lady is going to be out $900, which seems to be unfair. And on the other hand, you seem to suggest that you're trying to get your life back in order And the fact that you've paid your debt to society, which is what you say, doesn't necessarily mean you've paid your entire debt to this lady, because she's still out an additional $900.
I never saw that $900.
Well, whether you saw it or not, if somebody took the money, it wasn't her 2-year-old, it wasn't her 4-year-old, you were involved with drugs and alcohol at the time. I don't know what your cousin was involved with, drugs and alcohol, or maybe he's just a thief. But either you or he, through you, because that's how he got access to her home,
Correct.
took her property. Somebody has to pay for that.
Correct.
There is something else in this complaint that, however, that bothers me, Ms. Spahn.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She threatens to kill us and tells us she will not leave us alone until we move.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eric Wilson says after he was arrested for stealing from his neighbor, Janet Spahn, he paid the money back to her. Now Eric says Janet won't stop harassing him and his family.
What bothers me is that you folks are neighbors, and there's a suggestion in the answer that there's a lot of hostility that's still going on now from your end. Your husband, you're angry, and you do things to
certainly
harass them. You have a boy and a girl?
No, I don't. I have 2 sons.
Miss Spahn, I assume that you let this young man babysit for you because you know his family, you know his mother. Did she always?
No, I did not.
Well,
we had just moved here. We had just moved to Colorado at the time, and I asked his mother, assuming that she would, think that, if her son had good intentions to watch my children, if he did not, that she would not let him babysit. But she did, and she knew what his intentions were.
Well, I don't think
that was false on my part.
No, I did not.
Miss Spahn, I don't think that this lady knew what her son's intentions were.
I came over to their house and introduced myself, and they never even met my mother before I started babysitting.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other children do you have?
I have 1 daughter.
How old is she?
15.
She okay?
She's great.
She have any trouble with drugs, alcohol, school?
No, I think her brother's been a good example of a bad example, and she's everything against it because of that, whether that's good or bad. But she's very Christian and she's very straight.
Does your husband live in the house with you?
Oh, yes.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I run a bank.
And what about your husband?
He works for the school district.
So, and you have a long work history? Have you been working for a long time? How many years at the same job?
Well, I got promoted, so I went to a different position, but I've been in banking for 11 years.
And your husband, how long has he been working for the school system?
13. After he got out of college, he went right there, and he's been there for 13 years.
Let me tell you why I'm asking these questions, Ms. Spahn, so you'll understand. I've been around the family courts for a quarter of a century. And what strikes me as sad, has always struck me as being sad. You can expect a child to go off, get involved in drugs, alcohol, criminal activity, if they come from a family that is dysfunctional. But what I've seen more and more of is families that appear to be perfectly functional families have a child that just
goes bad.
And you hope that that turns around. And you never know when that's going to happen. So what I'm suggesting to you is you have 2 young boys. As good a parent as you are, as good an example as you set for your children, as law-abiding as you are, work history for over a decade, right out of school, got a job, and working in the same job, that's this lady and her husband. I'm sure they try to set a good example for this young man, and they don't know what happened.
Something wrong.
It happens.
I know.
You have to feel sorry for that. Because but for the grace of God, it could be you.
Or my kids.
Or your kids.
That's right.
So while there's no question that I believe that this young man is responsible for paying you, for making you whole, I think it's a tragic mistake for you and your husband to continue what I will refer to as a minor vendetta against the family. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So this is a neighbor. This lady did not hope for the kind of problem that she's having with this boy. And I have a sense, from looking at her face, that it ain't over yet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You better straighten yourself out. Kids make mistakes when they're young, and they say, well, I have a whole lifetime to correct them. How old are you now, 17?
18.
18.
I just turned 18, and I was going to get my record sealed.
Well, you're not going to get your record sealed, sir, if you just got a ticket for underage drinking. That doesn't suggest to me a year ago or whatever. And you, Mr. Wilson, listen to me. You just told me 2 minutes ago that you've been clean for about a month. That isn't exactly a lifetime.
Right.
The mistakes you make when you're 15, 16, 17, and 18, sometimes you can't correct them because they create a lifelong habit. So you have choices that you have to make. And if you don't make responsible choices starting right now, sir, at age 18, you're going to suffer your whole life, and your mother's going to suffer her whole life, and your father's going to suffer his whole life. They ever do anything bad to you?
No.
Are they good parents?
Very good.
It's your responsibility now at age 18 to see to it that they have pleasure from you, not grief.
Right.
So you better start trying harder, much harder. All right, judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here you are, ma'am.
Thank you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
See, she threatens to kill us and tells us she will not leave us alone until we move. And I just can't keep going like this. She put a sign up on her tree, which I could take pictures of, and told me that she will shoot my son if she comes in his area. Don't you dare laugh at me because I have 3 boys.
They called my father and told him that we have a security system.
She has her little kids flip them off.
They come near us again.
That's
we're
great treatment for a
them away.
4-year-old.
I drive by their house and their little kids flip me off.
Excuse me.
Yes.
She's not out there because she's in the house getting high with her husband. She would not know. Enough is enough. It's settled. She has everything. All we want to do is be left alone. You know,
Which
that's all we want to do.
will never happen until we move.
Parties on Beers versus Murphy. Step forward, please.
40-year-old Terry Beers says her daughter, Amy Murphy, broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Beers versus Murphy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, sir.
It's your daughter.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter broke your glasses during an altercation that you were having.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to get to the reason why you would sue her for the damage to your glasses, for the new glasses, in a minute. I have a countersuit by you for the destruction of a fish tank and fish and the filter and everything else against your mother. I think you're probably suing the wrong person because I don't think she destroyed your fish tank, right?
Right.
So let's start at the beginning. How did this tragedy start?
Amy had written to me in May and asked to come and live with us. They wanted to relocate from Vermont.
Who's they?
Amy and Jeff and my grandchildren.
Jeff.
Yes.
And so I allowed them to come in, and we were all getting along just fine. And then Amy decided that she was no longer going to be associated with Jeff, so she kicked him out of my house. Well, 2 weeks went by, and he said that he wasn't going to support his grandchildren. And with my rising utility bills, I asked him to move those fish out of my house.
Okay, we sort of missed a step. When they moved in not only with their children.
Yes.
But with a fish tank.
Big fish tanks.
How big?
About as big as this table. One of them was, and then the other one was about this big.
Full of fish?
There were only 4 fish.
Okay. But a big tank?
Big tanks.
Okay. All right. So you decided that the electric bills were too high.
Mm-hmm.
So you told him to get his fish tank out of
Just
the
to
house.
move the fish, and I would take care of the children and Amy.
Okay. What happened? He didn't?
He didn't, no. For about 2 weeks, we all tried to get him to move those fish, and he wouldn't. And then on the night of August 3rd, Edward...
That's your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am. Unplugged the fish tank. Both of them. Amy discovered that they were unplugged, plugged them back in. Now, I wasn't here at the time.
The 4 fish were still alive at that point?
Yeah.
Big fish, little fish?
Big fish.
Big.
Big fish. She plugged them back in, and Edward kind of got a little upset and started throwing things out the door.
You mean the fish tank out the door?
Just the filters, the pump, and lights.
Wrong. Right?
Right.
Right. That's what I said that evening.
Wrong. That he was
If I
wrong.
would have been there, I don't think it would have happened.
So you weren't there when
No,
he
I
threw
was
it.
not.
And then your daughter came in.
Well, she called me at a friend's house to give me grief. And then I went home, and about a half an hour later, Amy comes through my bedroom door just a screeching. And we ended up in my other daughter's bedroom, and we were still screeching at each other. And she just started hitting me.
And your glasses fell off?
They broke off.
They broke off. Where did she hit you?
About the head and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I restrained her on my daughter's bed. And we were screeching a little more. And next thing I know, she pops me in the mouth about 5 or 6 times after that.
Had you ever had that kind of physical altercation with your daughter before, Ms.
No.
Beers? It was the first time?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
My daughter's going to be 2 in December, and my son's going to be 4 in February.
So you were 16 when your son was born?
Yes.
He's the father of both children?
Yes.
You work?
Yep.
That's a start. What do you do?
Carpentry and fishing, commercial fishing.
You make a living?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Are you married?
No.
Nope.
Stand up here. Why?
I didn't want to rush Amy into a marriage situation, into a full commitment type thing. I want it to be, her decision as well as mine. And she, being young, I wasn't going to rush her into making a full commitment like that.
What do you think a 2- and a 4-year-old are?
A commitment.
That's a full commitment. A marriage, you can say, I made a mistake, I put erasers on pencils for a reason, I crossed this out, and I move on. You can't do that with 2 children. Always amazes me. I'm not from this generation.
From a different time.
Different time. You have to make a mental commitment to get married, but not to have 2 children together.
We want to get married.
What?
But it's not that easy.
Why is it not Why is it not that easy?
Because we've had a rough time. I mean, it is difficult making a living, supporting 2 children, and paying all the bills myself.
Well, you've been doing it now for 4 years. Why can't you pay $15 and get a marriage license?
Did that bother you?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you have to forgive each other.
Just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Beers is suing her daughter, Amy Murphy, because she broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks. Amy claims her mother caused the fight, and she only pushed her in self-defense.
Now, Amy.
Yes.
Did you hit your mother?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because she would not get off me, and I kept on telling her to get off me.
I wasn't on her at that time.
She was quiet.
I'm
now
sorry.
you have to be quiet, Miss Beers. She was on you how, Amy?
She pinned me down to my sister's bed, and she had me locked down.
Well, how did it start?
How did it start?
You came home, you were angry.
Yes, but...
So you walk in the door, you were angry. Tell me what happened.
I went into my mother's room, and I did ask for an explanation.
How did you ask?
I said it with a tone, but I wasn't screaming, though.
Okay.
But Ed, both of these people were drunk at this time, too. And they were screaming at me, and I just come off and I said, "You have lost rights to my grandchildren because of this." And I walked out of the room, and I started to go get some clothes for the kids. Ed came in the room first, and he was hollering at me, and he was in my face hollering at me, and he wouldn't back away from me. And my mother came in the room, and I was going to walk downstairs, and she blocked the doorway and said I wasn't going anywhere, little missy. And Ed had approached me, and my mother was in my face. Both of them were screaming at me, and these two people are drunk in front of me, screaming at me, and I was asking them nicely, and then I went to screaming to tell them to get them out of my face, and they wouldn't. I was scared.
So what did you do, Amy?
What did I do?
Amy, look at me. Look at me and tell me what you did.
I went towards the doorway, and my mother blocked the door, and I backed up, and she got in my face some more.
And you pushed her?
Yes, I pushed her away from me, but it was a push, just get away from me, please. And she pushed me back. I pushed her, she pushed me back, and I ended up on the bed, and she pinned me there. And I kept on telling her to get off me. I was screaming. I was crying for her to get off me. I have 2 bars in my back, and she was hurting me. And through everything that I've been through in my life, this woman did not deserve to do that to me.
Everybody was hot, Amy?
Yes, everyone was. Everyone was angry.
And you were hot over a fish tank?
It wasn't really the fish tank. It was the point behind it.
Which was?
Was why he did that to my things. I mean...
Yeah, he was absolutely wrong. But what did that have to do with your mother?
What did it have to do with my mother?
Yeah,
I called her up on the phone. She was at a friend's house, and she was trying to warn me all along that Ed was going to get angry and he was going to do something, but I never knew what he was going to do. I never, immediately thought, oh, that means he's going to ruin my fish stuff. I mean, I never knew that was he's going to do. My mom tried warning me, and that's what I was angry about. And she just stood right by his side like it was no big deal at all.
No, well, she tried to warn you, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I certainly am not condoning him destroying property that belonged to you. It was your property?
It's mine.
It was yours?
It was a family project. The kids helped me put it together, and they were all involved in it. And
yeah, it was
an
absolutely wrong thing to do.
The kids saw that.
What happened to the fish?
Well, eventually they were killed. They were dumped out on the ground. The tank was smashed.
And if they waited one more day, we would have found...
Who did that?
Ed and Harold.
And I would like to submit that another reason their electricity bill was so high is because Harold put a new air conditioner in his little trailer, and they had 15 things all plugged into one outlet. Of course your electricity bill is going to go right up.
Jeff, that's really not particularly relevant.
Okay.
Your last name, sir?
Hutchinson.
They may sue you for this fish tank.
Right.
Right? But this lawsuit is against your mother. The countersuit is against your mother's. She didn't destroy your fish tank. You had no reason to touch their property.
Exactly.
Period. I don't care what it is. First of all, sir, how long have you two been together?
5 years.
What you do, and I don't know whether you're in for the long haul or the short haul, that's up to her.
Long haul.
Long haul? anybody that would do such a thing, that would have that kind of temper, Miss Beers, I would think about making it a long-term commitment.
Well, we're working on it.
You got to usually start with them when they're about 3.
Oh, well, I know.
Right? So he's past 3. But you see, Ed, what you did affected her relationship with her daughter. My sense is that you had a baby when you were 16, became pregnant when you were 15. There was probably a lot of turmoil in your house. Got a fair statement? Was your mother supportive of you?
No.
Well, she let you move back into the house. How could you say that wasn't supportive?
But she threw me out when I was 16 years old, out onto the street, packed my sister's things. I had nowhere to go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You only have one mother. She may not be perfect. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Want to give her a hug?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Beers and her daughter, Amy Murphy, are in court after an argument turned violent, leaving Terry with broken eyeglasses. Amy says she was only defending herself after her mother started the fight.
How long were you estranged from your mother?
Oh, I'd say...
Not very long.
Year?
No, it wasn't that long.
Okay.
They were still in Maine when my first grandchild was born.
Amy, what I'm trying to say is, you know, other people come and go in your life. That's just a reality. But you may get angry with your mother, she may get angry with you, you may have arguments, whatever. But you can usually count on your mother. Bottom line, when all is said and done, more than you can count on anybody else in your whole life. You can count on your mother. Now, what you did, sir, was interfere with that. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I am.
Good. Then you can sit down. That was a good thing to say, so I can't even say anything to you. You are ashamed of yourself. You broke your mother's glasses.
Yes, I did.
It's a shame, Mrs. Beers, that you came to court with your daughter. I'm surprised that you did. You have a right to. Maybe what you needed was sort of a catharsis to get it all out. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Maybe that's why you're here. I think you have to forgive each other. Amy, you're 20 years old. 20 years old is hardly cooked for a human being. And you may have lots of anger with your mother. She may have a lot of disappointment with you over, you know, the way things turned out. But eventually it'll work itself out if you let it. You know.
I'm just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
We were trying to start over.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
Well, Amy, it's never too late to give it a shot with your mom. So you buy her new glasses. New glasses, what, $200? So that you have.
Thank you.
But Amy, you have 2 kids. And you have parents, Jeff?
Yeah, the kids are with my parents right now, and we haven't seen them since this happened.
Haven't seen the children?
Nope.
Why?
Because I've been busy every day working, and we really haven't been able to afford to go back and forth from Vermont, and we want our kids back as soon as we can.
So
and
they're
now
living
we
with
have
your
a stable
parents?
environment, yes.
So they're living with your parents?
Yeah, they're in their custody. I place custody of the children with my parents.
It's the safest thing to do for them.
At the time, that wasn't what it was. It was to hurt you.
What?
I don't
This
understand.
is what Amy came home and told me, that he was taking the kids away to hurt Amy because he wouldn't take her back.
Well, they have clearly had some difficulty.
This is true.
Judge Judy,
yeah.
we agreed together to give custody of the kids to my parents, and it was a decision. We decided to take the kids out of Ed and Terry's house because it was not a fit environment for our children.
Well, Jeff, I don't necessarily disagree with you because I don't think that the kind of environment where you have this kind of hostility is a good place for children. it's a good thing for children to be surrounded by the love and support of grandparents. Grandparents are nice to children. You know, they do all the nice things for kids and don't usually have any of the downside, discipline, and that sort of stuff. But bottom line is, if you are two reasonable people, you're going to have to make a solid home for yourselves so that you can take care of your children, because it's not fair for children to bounce around from one home to another home, to your home, to not see you for weeks at a time. Children don't understand that, especially when they're 2 and 4 years old. How old are you?
28 today.
Oh, well, we share a birthday.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Seems to me it's time for you two kids to really grow up and understand that you made these two babies and it's your responsibility to grow up and make a home for them. I also want you to think, Amy, that you only have one mother. She may not be perfect. She may have made some tremendous mistakes. You made mistakes. And let's discount Ed. Ed is not really part of your life. She's part of your life. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Mothers are supposed to have unconditional love for their children. And children, as they get older, are supposed to forgive the frailties of a parent, because parents aren't perfect. Your kids will benefit from loving two sets of grandparents. All right? Okay. You're going to buy your mother some new glasses. Want to give her a hug? Please. Huh? Not yet?
Nope. Not ready to yet.
Will you think about it? Please?
Yep.
Okay. Good luck.
Please excuse you. May step out. Out the back door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's telling everybody the wrong things. She tells people what she wants them to hear and not what you two discussed.
I've been through a lot with this woman, and there's just no ending to the games that I'm going through, and I'm sick of it. And this is the end of it right here, and I've already made up my mind, so.
Party's on Hipsher versus Lemos. Step forward, please.
32-year-old Irene Hipsher is suing her former fiancé, John Lemos, claiming that he stole her pet dog, Buddy, and secretly kept him for 2 years. John says he refuses to return the dog because it was neglected.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Hipsher versus Lemos. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Gentlemen, have a seat.
This is a really interesting case. Miss Hipsher, this is your dog, Buddy.
That's my dog, Buddy.
Don't cry yet, okay? Because you have to tell me what happened.
I know.
So take a deep breath. You want some water?
Yeah, I'll take some, thank you.
According to these papers, you and the defendant lived together with your two children. I assume that these are your two kids.
Yes.
The relationship was going south. You, Mr. Lemos, wanted her out of your house with the two children.
Correct.
And she was living there with the kids and Buddy.
Exactly.
According to your papers, you started eviction proceedings against her, correct?
Yes.
I'm not going to get into why. And sort of at the tail end of these eviction proceedings, it was about 4 months into trying to get her out of the house. According to your answer, you went over to the house and took her dog, right?
Correct.
You say you have a good reason for going over and taking the dog, but you took her dog. She didn't know where the dog was for how long?
2.5 years.
And you had seen him during those 2.5 years.
I have telephone records otherwise and stuff to prove that him and I were in communication over the telephone, visiting each other at each other's homes, the whole 9 yards.
Had you discussed Buddy?
Yes, a lot.
When you came home and found Buddy missing, what did you do?
I immediately called John at his mom's house and stuff, and at which time he told me that he had no idea where my dog was. He had no inclination of, he says, Irene, I'm sorry, but no, I didn't have anything to do with that. I feel really bad. Made it sound like really personal and stuff. So I went, other than to the Contra Costa County Animal Control, and I set up, that's when I started setting up the missing reports or otherwise and stuff. I searched the premises, went around the blocks, went around all streets, even made up signs. But that's my family member. That's
okay. How long had you had Buddy at that time?
I had Buddy for 7 years before John took him.
Okay. Now, how did you ultimately find out that Mr. Lemos had your dog?
My son Joshua was playing with his new girlfriend's son. I have no idea what his name was, but he had mentioned, Joshua asked his son, how many dogs does John have? And the boy came back with 2. Well, John automatically saw that the conversation was happening, pulled away the child from my son and stuff and told him, no, you gotta, whatever, took him back, and then when the 2 confronted again, the 2 children, the boy says, oh no, I made a mistake. John only has 1 dog. He has Zeus.
So then your son came home and told this to you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And this was at his house, place of residence. I was visiting the neighborhood.
Okay, at his house, but not his mother's house.
No.
Which is where the dog finally ended up.
Yes.
You're his mother, correct?
Yes.
So tell me how you confronted him, ultimately.
Well, I went to his house and stuff. Neither one of these 2 people were home, and whenever I looked over the fence, that's when I saw Buddy.
So you went to his mother's house?
Yeah, and that's whenever I found out that's whenever because at first and stuff, I didn't let John know that what was being said between the kids or that I even questioned it, because if I did, he would have just ultimately ran with my dog. So I took it upon myself and stuff without even questioning him or without saying anything to him. I showed up at his mom's house knowing that she was at work and he was at work, showed up and just peered over the fence.
So then after you found out that they had your dog, what did you do?
I went to the San Leandro Police Department and filed a case against him and stuff, which I have copies of or otherwise. It's 9711035. Okay.
Did you call them and say, I want my dog back?
Later on that
Who
day.
did you speak to?
I spoke to John at first. I could just hear her in the background saying how she was going to kill my dog before she gives him back to me. She's going to put my dog down. I could hear her screaming in the background, yes, John. And then all of a sudden and stuff, he's telling me and stuff. At first, it was a good conversation. It was like, oh, no, how you doing? Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I asked him, I says, John, I says, I heard you had my dog. You know, he says, Irene, I don't have your dog. I haven't seen him. I says, John, I was there. Ask your mom if I went by, because I went by her place of employment. She was standing outside, and I went by in a nice little cute little red car and stuff, and honked my horn, and she's all, not knowing who the hell I was, because I'm sure she would have given me the #1 finger first. But she waving at me and everything and stuff. I called it up.
All right, Mr. Lemos. You took her dog, right?
Yes.
I'll hear your story.
Okay, the reason why I did take the dog was like the last 3 to 4 weeks before she finally got out of my house. She wasn't hardly even around at that time. All of her belongings were still there, but there was numerous times that I would go to my house, check on my house. We couldn't live together, of course, so I was staying at my mother's house. There was numerous times that I'd go out there and I would see that the dog had no food or water. And there was a couple of times that I had went out to my house, spent the night out there, and she never was there. I don't know where she was. I had no way of contacting her because I didn't know where she was, going from point A to point B. And so I had felt that the dog was being neglected because when I would go there, he wouldn't have any food or water. And I felt compassion for the dog, and I thought that I could give him a better home which she could provide, because the last 4 weeks, it seemed to me like she could have cared less about the dog, or even trying to get out of my house, for that matter.
Mr. Lemos, I read your answer, sir. You know, judges are supposed to be able to relate to situations with a certain amount of common sense. Let me suggest to you what my common sense made from your answer. Let's pick a month. Let's say in December you decided to separate. She's living in your house with her 2 children. She says, I'm not moving now. You go down to municipal court, housing court, and file papers to have her evicted. She gets an extension of time. Is that what happened?
That's exactly what I did.
Because the judge looks at her,
looks at her 2 children and says, I'm not going to put her out on the street tomorrow, even though it's his house. These people lived together for 2 years. She needs a little time to relocate. Meanwhile, you're getting more and more annoyed. So a month goes by, and 2 months go by, and you're getting hotter and hotter. And 3 months go by, and finally in month 4, you decide that the family pet is being neglected. So I'm going to take the family pet. Maybe next time, if you don't move, one of your children will be missing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When John first took him, I was crying because he was my pal.
And later today,
I hope that in the future
have also
you
had
make your
problems,
dream come
so
true and you really become like that.
This was not my dream.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old Irene Hipscher is suing her former fiancé, John Lemos, for stealing her pet dog, Buddy, and keeping him for over 2 years. John says he only took Buddy because Irene was neglecting the dog.
Now, maybe your compassion for the dog was mixed with a little animus towards the plaintiff, but you have no right to take her animal. And then for 2.5 years, you lied to her. If you thought there was a legitimate question of animal neglect, you have the right to call authorities and say, this animal is being neglected. You didn't do that. How come?
Well, at that particular time, before that period, she was still around with the dog. Up to the last of 3 to 4 weeks, I didn't see her that much anymore.
So if you didn't see her that much anymore,
I mean, as far as
the few times that you went by the house, sir, and the dog was there, why didn't you call animal control and say, look at this dog. It's all skin and bones. It hasn't been fed. It hasn't been watered. It's being neglected. Then they would have taken the dog. And in all probability, if you were a person who was responsible, you might have gotten her dog. But the dog wasn't skin and bones, right, sir?
No, he wasn't.
No. So the question is, now what do we do with Buddy?
Oh, please.
The dog is her dog.
Yes.
The dog belongs to her. He brought the dog to you? Madam.
Yes.
Why don't you step up here? You're his mother.
Yes.
When he brought the dog to you, what did he say?
Just about what he told you, that he felt that the dog wasn't being treated right because there wasn't any food or water. And so he said that he felt that we could take care of the dog better, and he hadn't seen Irene. He didn't know where she was, so...
And you didn't question it?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell her you took the dog?
No.
So you've become attached to the dog, too?
Absolutely.
But the dog is hers.
I agree.
So it has to go back to her. Yes. Period. That's the end of discussion.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You know how she said it was being treated well? Her backyard was way worse than what we have now. They have apples all over the ground, not even grass.
I don't even have an apple tree anymore.
Well, they got rocks.
Tell me your name.
Jason.
Jason.
Pimentel.
Do you think this dog knows who you are?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let the dog go.
Come on, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here. Yes. Oh, yes. No, that's okay, boy. That's okay, boy. It's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Don't hit him too hard, Jason.
Oh, yeah. That's okay, Bobby's. That's okay, Bobby dog. Yes, it is.
Now, the question is, Mr. Lemos.
Stay.
You did the absolute wrong thing, and I think that you traumatized not only the plaintiff, she's an adult.
Dog.
But these 2 little kids,
they weren't even there.
That's all right. The dog's going to have to get used to, let the dog go. The dog's going to have to get used to your family all over again. But you traumatized 2 little children who were really innocents, and you traumatized them because you were annoyed that their mother wasn't moving out of your house fast enough.
Buddy.
True.
Buddy. So,
The kids weren't there the whole time.
for want of a better word, sir, you have to be punished. So I'm going to punish you to the tune of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Buddy.
Out the back door to your right.
Basically, instead, it all boils down to he's a mommy's boy. He has a brand new house. He's been living with mommy for the past 2.5 years.
No, I
and him and
haven't.
I've been broke up. Yes, you
No,
have.
I'm back at my house.
And now the next case.
Parties on Innocente versus Sierra Olivia. Step forward, please.
Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
This is a case about principle. Plus $100.
Exactly.
What's your first name?
Celeste.
Celeste. And your first name, sir?
Jesus.
You are an actress by profession, or is that your avocation?
Well, I wish I earned more money at it, but it is my profession.
Okay. According to this complaint, Jesus offered you a role in a play that he was producing, correct?
Yes, correct.
A big role. Mm-hmm. And that play was to be performed at a small theater in September. I believe September 13th and 14th.
12th and 13th.
According to you, sometime later, he advised you that you didn't have the part, and you had to audition for it again.
No, he never advised me that I didn't have the part.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you say I'm the boss, applesauce. You can pick anybody else you like. Carlotta is spoken for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
He said you had to audition for it again. He had some problems with the production.
He didn't say that I had to audition for it again.
What did he
Your Honor.
say?
He did say that auditions would be held. He left a message on my machine in late August, and then when I called him back, he said there were so many new parts and so many people had dropped out. He asked about my availability at that time. And then I told him, well, I'd been working on it for 2 months, and you have to understand, he initially called me to audition. He had gotten my name, and he said, well, you know, I heard you were a very good actress, and I would like you to audition. So at that point, having invested all this time and energy, I said yes. And in fact, the venue had been changed to a better theater, a more inconvenient date. But then I did say, yes, I was still interested.
So you did go and audition again?
Well, no, the director, finally he had gotten a new director because the previous director had dropped out. So the director never did answer my calls or return my calls, and finally I did get a hold of him, and he said, well, rehearsals will begin on next Monday. This was September 1st, Labor Day, and then there will be every Monday and Tuesday until the performance. And then that Friday he called me back and said there were going to be auditions Saturday and Sunday. And I said, excuse me, auditions? I had been working on this role for 2 months, and Jesus had hired me to do this role. And he said, well, then come in and meet me. And then the next morning, being Princess Di's funeral day, I get in there. I was already depressed. I get in. I heard somebody reading for the role, and then I asked Jesus about it. And even then he said, oh, no, you are Mama Carlotta. And then he said, you are the best I've seen so far. And you know, at that point, the director still didn't, you know...
Ultimately, he chose somebody else, the director.
The director told me that Jesus had never told him that the role was precast.
Okay. So he hired somebody else.
Exactly, yes.
And they had promised you a $100 stipend for this performance.
Yes.
You, sir, according to your answer, had some problems with the original production. Is that right?
Yes, I had problems that my theater, which I had for the 12th and the 13th of September, I thought I had already made the deal with the director of the Chicano Center. And it resulted that at the end, he said on July, when I called him, Jesus, I'm very sorry. I didn't put you on the list. Your event is not in my calendar. So I felt terrible because I had already promised my actors that they would be performing on the 12th and the 13th.
Now let me stop you right there, sir. When you say you promised your actors, this is one of the actors that you promised.
I did.
Now, could you, and then you went out and had to hire a new place and a new director.
That's right.
So you hired a new director.
Yes.
You did the hiring.
Why
didn't you tell the new director that this lady had the part?
I told him that I already had 6 actors. I had already lost 6 of them. And the director insisted on being himself Maximilian, or else he would not be part of the production. And then it seemed to me like everybody wanted to be Maximilian, all the men wanted to be Maximilian, and all the ladies wanted to be Carlotta.
Just a minute. Am I correct, sir, that you had already promised her the role of Carlotta?
Yes.
Well, so if everybody wanted to be Carlotta, what difference does it make? This is your production. Why didn't you just say to the director, you can cast anybody else that you want for other roles?
Yes.
But I already have promised this lady, and for 2 months she's been working on the role of Carlotta. Is there any reason why you didn't say that?
Because I did not ask Celeste to work on the role for 2 months. I told everybody that their commitment would be for only the 2 first weeks of September.
For the performance?
For the performance
No,
only.
just a second.
And the rehearsals.
But she's an actress, so she was working on the part. Did you give her the script?
Yes, I did.
So she had the script from the
Yes.
time you first promised her the role.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
As far as I'm concerned, sir, you had an obligation when you hired a new director to tell him that at least one of these parts was already promised to this lady, because you had given your word to her. She, as a result of your promise, went out and performed her job, which was to familiarize herself with the role, to work on it for a couple of months. It was within your control to see to it that she got the part, because the director was also your employee. And you could have said to the director, pick anybody else you like, sir. Carlotta's spoken for. You didn't do that.
I did not, because he said, I am going to choose the actors.
Listen, you say I'm the boss, applesauce. You can pick anybody else you like. Carlotta is spoken for. The commitment was for $100?
Yes, it was.
That's what you're suing for?
Yes.
Vindicated, $100 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
If you were so well prepared for Carlotta, why did you fail in your second audition?
Well, you know, failure is a question of perception. Let me put it that way.
Parties on Thorne versus Mazza. Step forward, please.
Writer Ann Throne says her personal injury lawyer, Steve Mazza, kept most of her $12,000 settlement, paying her less than $2,000.
Order. All rise. All rise, please. Judges, number 49 on the calendar in the matter of Thorne versus Mazza. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
All right, very briefly, Mrs. Thorne, you injured your back and you consulted with the defendant, who is an attorney, with regard to suing whoever hurt you. You'll tell me about that in a minute. According to your complaint, you signed a retainer agreement with him. The matter was ultimately settled for $12,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you got less than $2,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
Out of the $12,000 settlement.
That's right.
So first tell me, how did you injure your back?
The manager of our building shot a bullet through my bedroom wall. And I had just bent over to put some sewing things away, and there was an explosion over my head. And I went like this. I didn't know where it was coming from, and fell into the closet door and hurt my back and shoulder.
You were lucky you weren't killed.
Yeah, I traced it one time. It would have gone right through my throat.
So you were lucky.
So I was lucky.
Okay.
Wasn't my time.
And then, how did you find the defendant?
Through a friend. He was recommended to me through a friend. And I went there with my son to ask him if I had a case. And he said, yes, I did. So I said, how much do you think the case would settle for? And he said, $12,000, $13,000. So I said, I would get that. He said, no, you would get $5,000 or $6,000. So based on that, I signed an agreement with him, which he never signed. My signature's on here. He never signed it. He told me to go to Citizens Medical Group. I went there and...
Did you have your own doctor?
No, I didn't.
You didn't have a doctor?
No.
Did he ask you whether you had a doctor?
No, he just said that he works with Citizens Medical Group, so...
You should go to Citizens Medical Group.
So I should go there. And I started treatment right away.
What kind of treatment? With a chiropractor?
3 times a week. Well, in the beginning, the first 2 times, I got ultrasound, massage from the girl, and hot packs. That was the first 2 times. After that, I just got the hot packs. But they continued to charge me for the ultrasound and massage. So after that, we had the deposition. I never saw Mr. Mazza again after I signed the contract. He didn't show up at the deposition. He was not at the arbitration. He settled my case. I didn't know about it. I had no idea he had settled the case until I got a letter from the other side's insurance company. And I wrote him a letter. I said, I had no idea you were closing my case. You were settling it. You know, you didn't call me. I haven't heard from you. The doctor's bill is incorrect. And it was settled.
Could I just have those 2 documents that you gave me? All right. Now, and I want to see, Mr. Mazza, I'd like to see your retainer agreement with the plaintiff, please.
The original retainer agreement, Your Honor?
Yeah, I want to see the original retainer agreement. When did you receive yours?
I got it the same day. He made a copy and handed it to me.
Is there any reason, Mr. Mazza, why you didn't give her a fully executed copy of a retainer agreement?
I believe I did.
No, you didn't. You only gave her one with her signature on it.
I see what the court is holding, Your Honor, but I do believe that she did, in fact, get an executed copy.
My son was with me. Did he sign the copy, or did he give me with that? Just my signature.
Just a second. I want to read this over. Well, Mr. Mazza, this indicates that your fee is 33 1/3% of the gross recovery if settled without filing suit or demand for arbitration, or 40% of the gross recovery if suit is filed or demand for arbitration is made.
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, I would like you to, step by step, sir, tell me what you did to get 40% rather than 33 1/3.
What I did, Your Honor, was to determine who fired the weapon. I did an investigation to confirm who owned the property. As Ms. Thorne said, she did not have insurance, medical insurance. She hasn't worked since 1990. She needed medical care. I sent her to Citizens Medical Group, who do not use chiropractors. It's a board-certified internist who, their records are impeccable. They give you daily records of what was done.
Mr. Mazza, is your firm limited to personal injury, or is it general practice?
Just personal injury. That's all we do. And if I may continue, Your Honor.
No, I have, my mouth is still moving, Mr. Mazza.
Yes, I see that.
Do you use this particular medical treatment group regularly in your practice?
The term regularly, no. This doctor is my own doctor.
Mr. Mazza, I have a problem, sir. Let me tell you what my problem is.
Yes, Your Honor.
My problem is that this lady, who was the injured party, settled her lawsuit for $12,000, and she got less than $2,000. That gives the legal profession, sir, a really foul name. Now, nobody disputes that lawyers' usual retainer agreements are a third. And what I asked you is what you did, because we haven't gotten to the medical bills yet.
because that you may have to take up with your own friend who runs this clinic where you sent her, where they put a hot pack on her shoulders for $4,000. But I want you to tell me what you did so that your percentage of this recovery was increased from 33.33% in good conscience to 40%.
In good conscience, Your Honor, there's a contract here.
No, sir.
I filed the lawsuit.
No,
yes?
sir, there isn't a contract.
There is a contract.
No.
I have it. I have 2 original signatures on, and you're holding it, Your Honor. Number 1. Number 2.
No, sir. She never received a contract. She received her own signature on a retainer agreement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She received great representation. And if you would let me finish, I would be able to articulate to you why she should be happy and grateful.
And later today,
if you move your head up and down, you catch it in the light, you can see it.
If I move my, just a second, so you're telling me that in order to see this tint, I got to move my head up and down.
real cases, real people, Judge Judy. Ann Throne received $1,930 from a $12,000 settlement. Attorney Steve Mazza says he had to pay her medical bills.
There is no way she could have possibly gotten this partially executed contract unless you gave it to her. No way.
There is a way, Your Honor.
Well, tell me how.
There's many reasons why that could happen without casting dispersions on me.
I'm not casting dispersions on you, sir. What I'm telling you is you had her sign the agreement, you slipped it in your file, and when you saw that it was not signed by you, you signed it. That doesn't mean you're not entitled to be paid, sir. You are entitled to be paid for your work. What I'm taking issue with is that you settled this case for $12,000 and she got $1,900.
You won't let me answer the question, Your Honor.
So then answer the question. Tell me what you did that you feel warranted an increase from 1/3 to 40% of the recovery. That's first. That was my question at the beginning.
I litigated this case and prepared it for a jury trial.
You did not
We
try it.
arbitrated this case.
Were you there?
No, a lawyer from
Just a minute. Were you present during the arbitration?
No, a lawyer from my office was.
He wasn't from your office.
Yes, he was.
When was the arbitration in this case?
It was February 7th, 1996.
In 1996, sir, how many lawyers were in your office?
2.
Why weren't she retained you?
She retained my office, Your Honor, and that's what it says in the contract. She retained my office. She received great representation. And if you would let me finish, I would be able to articulate to you why she should be happy and grateful.
Oh, Mr. Mazza, you are never going to convince me, sir.
Well, you won't let me speak.
You are never going to convince me, sir, that she should be happy and grateful.
You won't let me speak.
I don't know who you're used to appearing before, but when a lawyer is in my courtroom, when I speak, the lawyer has to be quiet. That's one of the advantages of being. That's one of the advantages of being the judge.
It's a two-way street, Your Honor.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's easy to get down on lawyers. It's the thing to do, and that's what she was doing. She didn't want to have someone talk back to her. As you could see her attitude as she ran from the bench. I guess she's not used to being challenged by someone that can go toe-to-toe with her intellectually.
I think she's very fair. She's also from Brooklyn, where I was born. I'm very happy that I won, and I give justice 2 snaps.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brunges versus Aaron. Step forward, please.
17-year-old student Thomas Brunges says 16-year-old Errol Aaron jumped on the hood of his father's 1985 El Camino, denting it. Errol says they were both just joking around and both should be responsible.
You did a little dance on the hood of his car.
No, ma'am. What happened was we were in the parking lot, and he got into his car, and we were kind of joking around. And he kind of came towards me, and I was a joke, and he saw me, he started laughing. So I kind of, joked around. I kind of went up to the car and kind of...
No, look over here.
Okay.
Look over here. He pulled up to you. You were joking around in the parking lot.
Okay, right.
And he stopped about 3 feet away from you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And let me hear slowly what you did while you're looking over here.
Okay, so what happened was he stopped 3 feet short, and then I walked up to the car, put my hands in the front of the car, and I put my right foot on, and then my left foot on.
Just a minute. You put your hands on the hood.
Right.
And then you lift it up
My right foot.
Your right foot, really high.
Yeah.
And you put it on the hood of the car.
Right.
And then you pushed with your hands?
Well, no, because then I just kind of stepped with the left foot and just kind of got
Well,
on.
you sort of have to push. You have to push with your hands, right? So in order to give yourself a little leverage and you got the other foot on the car.
Right. And so then I just got off, and then that was pretty much it. And then so that night when I was at work, he called me and he said that that there was 2 dents in the car and that I had to pay for it. So Monday was the next day when we saw each other at school, and I was pretty reluctant to pay because before I saw him actually, like during like zero period, which is first while he was in class, I kind of went to look at the car, and I didn't see anything. And so after that, I said I didn't want to pay for it because I didn't see anything.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay.
And so later on, I asked him, it's not going to be over $250, is it? Because I have to work, I'm going to probably have to pay for it. And he said, no, it wouldn't be. And so like 2 or 3 days later, his dad got the estimate, one for $587, one for like $525, and then he said that his friend could do it for $400 or $450.
So you just thought that the estimates were too high?
Right.
You tell me about this event in the parking lot. The 2 of you were in the parking lot, you get into your car.
Yes, I was going down to the gym and I made a left in front of the administrative office, and he was walking across. And I pulled up and stopped in front of him, and I think he was more showing off to his friend Ted, because he was in this truck parked. I was like, my car was here and he was here, and he looked back at his friend Ted in the car.
How close did you come to him?
I say I was 3 to 5 feet, no less than 3 by far. I was plenty of room.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, I saw that all the time. Do you know what I'm talking about, Bird? You know, they take that little plunger, right? Come on, give me a break.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old student Thomas Brunges says 16-year-old Errol Aaron jumped on the hood of his father's 1985 El Camino, denting it. Errol says they were both just joking around.
Now, you have pictures of the damage to this car?
Actually, we bought the car so you could look at it.
Do you have photographs?
No, we don't.
Let me take a look at the estimates that you got. Whose car is this? Is this your car?
It's my dad's, but I drive it.
So let me understand this. What's the whole issue? The whole issue is you feel as if you should be responsible, but that the estimates were too high?
Well, half is responsible because if he didn't come toward me, I was going to go and jump on the car. I mean, that's the whole thing. But we were just joking around. He kind of came.
I wasn't joking around.
Just a second.
And he kind of came towards me, and then, he was laughing, so was I, and just kind of happened.
If he came towards you in the car and stopped, and he was 3 feet away from you, show me with your hands how far away he was. 3 feet.
About that much.
That far away. So he was joking around, you walk around the car and case over, right? Then you're not here. You don't jump up on the hood of his car. He's not responsible. You are. It was bad judgment.
The reason that estimate might be a little on the high side is also because of the type of paint job that's put on there. It's a 2-part application. They don't just spray it with the color.
Why did where he stepped on the car, did it break the paint?
No, it just, there's 2 dents. There's a dent on the right side of the
So
hood.
they use one of those plunger things and pull it out. I mean, I saw that all the time. Do you know what I'm talking about, Bird? You know, they take that little plunger, right? Come on, give me a break.
Your Honor, can I
Get
say
a
something?
street mechanic, right? Street guy comes over and he goes, and he pulls out a little dent. What are you making a big deal about this for? Huh?
Your Honor, you can't. On one of the dents, it's on a bevel of a corner, and you can't pull it out.
Well, let's go take a look and see how terrible these dents are. You have your car outside, sir?
Yes, it's
Yes?
outside.
All right, let's go take a look.
We're doing the judge.
I think it's going okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Show me.
If you look into the light, you can see a dent right there from 1 foot.
And there's on this bevel right here, there's a dent right there.
See the dent right there, right in there. If you move your head up and down and you catch it in the light, you can see it.
If I move my, just a second. So you're telling me that in order to see this dent, I got to move my head up and down?
Well, certain angles, it shows up better.
I understand that, but that's what you're telling me. In order to see these dents, I got to move my head up and down.
No, well, some people need to stand. If you stand right here and look at that angle right there, you can see that there. And if you stand right here, you can see there's a significant dent right there also. When this car was painted, I paid $1,200 for the paint job. So
they didn't scratch it, did they?
No, that's somebody
What? That's something else.
Somebody else did
Somebody else did that. Did you find out who did that?
Yeah, he's paying for it.
And he's paying for that?
Right.
Right?
That's a whole different issue.
Well, I understand that. That's a whole different issue. So this is also on your car. These two big scratches. This, I don't have to bob my head up and down. I can see that without even bobbing my head.
You're absolutely right, yes.
Absolutely. Let's go take a look at...
If you stand right here,
Just a second. I got another question for you.
Okay.
See over here? See the scratch that goes about 24 inches?
Right.
He didn't do that, did he?
No, that was...
Somebody else is going to pay for that, too?
Yes.
We are.
We are.
Well, no, excuse me. This goes the whole length of this car.
Right. I was at
whole length of this car, right?
Right.
Right. Somebody else. When did that happen?
That happened about 3-4 months ago.
Before or after this dance on the car?
Before that.
Before that?
Yes.
Let's go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm going to get these folks a copy of my book.
Let me tell you why. I went outside and there are two minuscule dents in the hood of this car, neither of which damaged the paint. There's no scraping or anything else on the hood of the car. However, a lot of these estimates that they have to do with repainting this whole car because this is...
That's not true.
Just a second.
That's a whole separate issue, though, Your Honor.
Oh, no. I'm going to tell you why.
Well,
I'm from New York. New Yorkers are used to little tiny dings on cars, right? Maybe it would cost you $100 to get somebody. Maybe. If somebody was overcharging you, it would cost you $100 to get somebody to pull out those tiny little dings in the car. And you're not going to get them to pay for the scratches that somebody else did on this car. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $100. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back up to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You don't want to get down on your knees and thank her for protecting your 4-year-old from his crack-abusing felon father.
No.
Oh, you're going to pay.
Judge Judy Justice.
Obviously, Judge Judy has no idea what the cost of body work is.